JayDreamerZ, think outside the box.
Throughout history, the boldest have dared to go further. They risk death, and in doing so live on forever. What drives these few to the ends of the earth? The desire to discover something more. The search for something greater. The world is full of unanswered questions. Beyond all limits or reason, the answers await. For some, discovering the secrets of the world is the only way to live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be talking with a special guest who is my brother. His name's Adam. And basically this entire hangout is going to be him and I. We have so many good conversations about the esoteric and about the paranormal and the Illuminati and things like that, that I wanted to invite him onto my channel so that you guys can kind of listen in. And you know, we're going to talk about all kinds of various topics. You know, some things we both see eye to eye on. Some things, you know, like he's more of an expert in some fields than I am. And I'm more expertise in other fields as well. But welcome everybody to today's video. I want to let you know before we start, once Adam and I are done talking, we're going to open it up for questions and answers. So there's going to be a little question and answer session at the end of the video. But for right now, I just wanted to introduce my brother. He's somebody who has been an inspiration to me. He's been looking into alternative reality for much longer than I have. And he's been down a few different roads, including the paranormal, where he was an actual ghost hunter. And he was, you know, looking into the paranormal activities in graveyards and other places. And I'll go ahead and let you say hi to everybody.
How's it going? My name's Adam. I've been in the paranormal pretty much all my life, whether it be UFOs, alternate realities, ghosts, anything that I can honestly look up. I worked for a while doing paranormal investigations. We went to abandoned slave cemeteries, caught a lot of things. I actually started out as a skeptic and then caught some pretty interesting things on camera and then on audio, and it just got me going from there. Really interested to talk with everyone today and talk with my brother here about some stuff. Like he said, we don't always see eye to eye on everything, but he knows a lot more about some things than I do and vice versa. So I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Okay, so another thing you guys should know, this is not scripted. This is not HBO. So that's why, you know, we've green screen and all that. But anyhow, we're just going to chat about a lot of different things, which we do all of the time. The way you see us, this is how we are all of the time. Another thing I want to throw out there is that you and I, we were not raised by we were not forced into any type of religion.
No.
And we weren't taught these types of things by our parents. You know, like there was no authority figure that led us into, you know, there was no problems with our childhood that we needed to escape and all of a sudden, you know, just be conspiracy theorists and weirdos or anything. Very normal people who have excelled in various aspects of life. And these are the paths that we have taken, very similar paths, with different, you know, different levels of interest.
Well, I think it's more just, you know, we're curious. You know, we're curious at our core. You know, we don't take everyday, you know, statements as face value until we look into them. And you know, the more you look into certain things, the more you start to see, and it just kind of goes from there. And down the rabbit hole you end up going.
Now, I just want to say, I'm drinking a beer, he's having a soda, we're just hanging out, and we're inviting all of you guys to hang out with us. At the end, we're going to jump into some stuff. Now, where I wanted to start, somebody in the chat had made the comment, are Sam and Dean going to be talking during this live stream? So let me let you know, if you're here to watch Sam and Dean from Supernatural, that's not what this video is going to be about.
But
okay?
we're as close in real life as you're going to get.
Yes, we are Sam and Dean, okay? Believe it or not, Adam is my little brother. He's my little big brother. So if you're wondering why, because JayDreamerZ is a big guy, you're probably thinking, he's way bigger. So he's actually that gigantic. But anyhow, we weren't raised into this. This isn't something that our lives were shaped in order to put us in this direction. This is our own experience in the wonders of life. So I'm going to start off by telling you guys how I got to investigating the paranormal, alternative realities, and stuff like that. And in a nutshell, when I was growing up, the world seemed wrong. It seemed like something was missing all of the time. I had to use my creative abilities, my imagination, and I imagined things that were grander on the scale of life than what I normally experience. That's why I was attracted to, like Batman and movies that present reality, but it's an extreme version of reality. Because, like I tell you all the time, this world is really, it seems kind of boring. It seems like everything is kind of structured and everyone kind of lives these loops and goes in circles, and it's not fantastic. So that's why I like to look into these movies. By the way, we're both serious movie buffs, especially classics from the 80s and 90s. But movies are something that parallel real life. Even though it's a story, even though it's presented as fictitious, it's the story of reality that's being fed back to you, fed back to us as entertainment. They never come out and say, by the way, this story is purely fictional. They don't say that. They allow us to jump to those conclusions because it seems larger than life. That's this life. This life is really boring. We live in cubicles. Adam and I are basically doing this live stream from a closet in my house, which is a cube, and it's really weird when you think about how things used to be, all of the hidden history that's been kept from us. But the first thing I wanted to say, the reason why I put the thumbnail of Sam and Dean from the show Supernatural is because not only are we basically Sam and Dean, and sometimes we kind of switch those roles around, sometimes he's Sam, sometimes I'm Sam, and, vice versa. But the reason why I put that is because there was something on that show that really jumped out at me. And that's the part whenever they were like, you were told as a child, what did they say? Like, never to believe in the boogeyman or...
Yeah, Sam and Dean are talking, and Sam tells him, when I was young and I was afraid of the monster the monster in my closet, Dad told me to shoot it. And something to that effect. And Dean's like, well, of course not. And he's what did you want him to do? And he goes, I wanted him to tell me not to be afraid of the dark. And he goes, are you kidding me? Of course you should be afraid of the dark.
Exactly. Why should we be afraid of the dark? Because there are monsters. There are monsters in our world, but we raise our children, don't believe in the monsters, because we don't want them afraid. We've taken away their natural fear of the bad guys. We're telling them there are no bad guys. Oh, there's no bad guys in the world. But in reality,
there's a lot of them.
That's who we're fighting. That's why him and I are basically Sam and Dean. And there are other people out there. You guys are also Sam and Dean. Some of you people out there as well. We fight against the monsters. We fight against those entities that exist, whether it be paranormal or just the hidden forms of reality, things that really do take place. Things like, I put a poll on my website. I put a poll here on my channel. What classic movie monsters people are interested in, right? The reason we are so drawn to these classic forms of movie monsters like zombies or vampires or the Wolfman is because there are real concepts behind the story form of facts, of actual beings that exist. speaking of beings, there was a fly right in front of my face. It was like a little gnat. But what do you think? I mean, is that kind of how you stand? Like,
I completely agree. You know, we've been desensitized to the point where people constantly tell their children, you know, oh, those scary things are only in movies. But when in reality, a lot of this stuff parallels stuff that happens in an everyday existence on this planet. And I don't think a lot of people register with that. They want to feel ingenuine. They just want to feel safe, because they don't want to know about the monsters that might be out there. So, you know, they perpetuate this, oh no, the boogeyman's not real, and this, when in fact, the fact of the matter is, we've all watched the news, you all see what people are capable of, and people are capable of being monsters, and I'm not talking just solely people themselves, but that is an example I'm using right now. I mean, there are monsters out there in this world. There are unheard of, unexplained mysteries on this planet that people look at, and people like me and my brother here will go, wait a minute, what was that? And we dig in hard to look up what's going on. And then you have your everyday people who will sit there and say, like, oh, well, the government said it was a fog of mist that went past a moonbeam or something, you know, and right. Those types of people are the people who, honestly, I'd rather reach, because those are the types of people who are so stubborn and stuck in their ways and, you know, no, what the government says is true all the time, 100% of the time. And people who say, you know, monsters don't exist. Well, you're wrong. And I will openly debate anybody about that. And so will my brother. I've seen him do it.
Yeah, and actually, before we jumped on the live stream, like, him and I were talking the whole way, you know, we're talking about various things. One of these entities that represent monsters, whatever form those monsters take, is the Illuminati, or are the Illuminati. We were actually talking about, like, I mean, so many different things. But the last thing we were talking about was the lights in the sky. I don't know how many people have seen, like, SpaceX supposedly, like, shot this rocket and it left this huge comet kind of trail behind it. Another thing is, my brother was talking about the spiral lights that are in the sky.
The blue spiral lights, man, and people are coming up with weird explanations as to what these supposedly are as a natural phenomenon. And I'm sorry, but a gaping wide hole in the sky with a blue spiraling light, let me tell all the viewers right now, is not natural in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Okay, it's just not natural. And, you know, but the people out there who don't click to this type of thing, they don't ask questions, they're not curious. They'll just sit there and they go, oh yeah, man, look, now there was a light in the sky and it was caused by whatever it is they give an explanation for. You know, people like me, I tend to look at the deeper thing behind anything. You know, I can logically gap and show you documents and present proof of things that I've dug up myself, that our government lies, they cheat, they steal, they experiment on you. There's weird stuff on this planet afoot, and you got to understand, to be able to find out what's going on in this world, you have to ask questions. And you have to look at more than one source. You can't just read one article and go, okay, that's how things went down.
Right. So I wanted to kind of let my brother give you guys a little example. Let's scoot you over like a couple inches. That way you're not cut off there. There we go. You can be closer. It's okay. So anyhow, I wanted to let Adam give you guys sort of, you know, some firsthand personal experience, like stories whenever he was a ghost hunter, you know. That's one of the things that I don't talk about a lot, is more towards like the paranormal. I do talk about like the energetic, and that's where him and I meet, you know. We understand that these things and all things are energy based, you know.
Absolutely. So
when it comes to the paranormal, like ghosts or demonic, you know, entities, things like that, what do you think I got at that time? I totally got it. Ew, that's so awesome. Gross, man. What's that gnat doing in my house? That's horrible. What do you think, you know, for example, when people see ghosts, like what is a ghost, and you know, are there different classes?
See, I honestly believe that there's a large following that believes how I believe, which is there's more than one type of spirit. Some of them are actually ghosts. Some of them, I believe in extra dimensions. So I've also believed that some of the things people are seeing are not actual ghosts. I believe some people are actually seeing a moment stuck in time, which is like a loop. Something that's happened, a traumatic experience. Doesn't even have to necessarily be a death, just a traumatic experience that has left a mark on time. People are seeing these things and recognizing the ghosts. There are real ghosts that I do believe in. I've seen some crazy stuff, paranormal research wise. Give an example. I was on a expedition to a abandoned slave cemetery in Tarpon Springs, Florida, with my group Nightwolf, and I was more of the end of the skeptic of the group at that point in time in my life. I was only 17 or 18 years old, and when we were in this investigation, we had a state-certified psychic with us named Kathy DuPont, and she was a great person to have with us, because I swear to God, every time that woman told us something was by and where to point and click, we clicked and we got something.
Now let me ask you a question. Do you think whenever people are exploring the paranormal, because some people, they go to haunted houses or insane asylums and things like that, do you think that it's a good idea to have a psychic with you?
I think everyone can feel energy. I know I can. I don't think a lot of people register on what it really is, the feeling that they're getting. Like, have you ever been in a dark room or something and you just kind of knew someone was watching you? There was no reason for it. There was no, you didn't watch a horror movie right before you went downstairs or anything. You just walked into a room and went, somebody is looking at me.
Yeah.
Or, I believe a lot of the times that is you being sensitive. I think a lot of people are just programmed by the thought police in this country that raise us to not notice this shit or not to pay attention to it. Humans have a lot of great instincts that come out. And when you're alone in the dark, I have people who are like, oh, ghosts aren't exist. And I'm like, I can tell you some places to go sit in the dark for an hour that'll change your mind. Yeah. Okay. And, I'm a big guy. My brother already said it. I'm over 6'6". I'm 300 plus pounds. I'm a big guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are some of these places where I was very uncomfortable sitting for 2 or 3 hours in the dark. Whenever my favorite part is when you roll back an EVP tape. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's electronic voice phenomenon. Whenever you roll back these tapes and you can hear, and I'm not talking, a class 3 freaking EVP where you hear static and a little bit of mumbling. I'm talking like a class A perfect EVP of someone saying something that you didn't hear at the time you were sitting in that area.
What does it say? What is it? Electronic voice
phenomenon.
Okay, so EVP, electronic voice phenomenon.
And a lot of these people are, who are skeptics of ghosts and stuff. It's because they've never opened themselves up to it. They've never honestly experienced it. I've done a lot of work in this. I've read, I can't even describe how much literature on the subject. I've done personal, like I said, I've done exploration myself. I've done actual investigations. I continue to do actual investigations up until a few years ago. I actually took my girlfriend that I have and a couple other friends, and we went and did one out in New Mexico just without a group. We made our own little group and went on a thing. And I tell people, man, get out there, do this stuff. Don't just rub it off and say, oh no, that doesn't exist. You want to believe it doesn't exist? Look up, every town in this country has a haunted past. Look it up and go to it. Get permission from your local police department and go.
I'm just jumping in the chat. That's all. You can keep talking.
As far as like the dark entities go, I do believe, whatever you want to call them, demons, dark spirits, negative entities, they exist. I've seen tapes of them. I've had first credible hand accounts of people who I'm a fairly good judge of character, or at least I like to think so. And you can tell when you look into people's faces whether they're kind of bullshitting you or not. And I've seen people who were terrified on video. I mean, truly terrified to the point where they were stuttering and skipping words and they couldn't control themselves.
Right.
I don't think these people are imagining stuff. I think that there are malicious spirits in this world, whatever you want to call them. Like I said, some people will go demons. I don't necessarily prescribe to a demon route per se. But I do believe that there are negative things out there that can and will screw with you if given the proper opportunity. Just like Ouija boards. I tell everyone, Ouija board, people are like, oh man, Ouija boards are nothing. Yeah, I don't care. Ouija boards aren't what causes phenomenon. Okay? You using it is what causes the phenomenon, because it's letting the spirits that are already here around you know that you're willing to communicate with them.
Yeah.
You can buy a Ouija board from Parker Brothers that glows in the dark. I've seen it. Okay? Just because it's from Parker Brothers doesn't mean it's not going to work. The Ouija board in and of itself is not important. you signaling that you are willing to communicate with these things is. And like many people, if you look up online, will tell you the more open they got to it and the more they opened themselves up to this, the more experiences started happening.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that's because spirits know whether or not they can connect with you and get your attention. And if you're outwardly trying to contact these spirits, of course they're going to try to talk to you. They're going to, whatever they want to do. These, I don't imagine that they have a whole lot to do on the other side. I may be wrong. But in my opinion, that is what this whole Ouija board thing comes into play. I personally wouldn't screw with one just because I've messed with enough stuff like that in my day. However, like I said, I also believe, not just in paranormal in that sense, I believe that there are creatures on this planet. People are always constantly quick to say we've explored all this planet. Well, no, we haven't. There's tons of this planet we haven't explored. Most of our planet's underwater. What about the caves that are the huge cave systems that no one's talking about that run through and in and out of every nook and cranny of our planet? We as a people don't know jack about our planet, but we act like it's already completely discovered.
Right. And that's something we were talking about earlier too, was we were talking about how we talk about everything basically. But one of the things was the sinkholes that have been opening up around the world. There are all of these huge sinkholes, and it seems to me like the moment a really big sinkhole opens up, it's quarantine and the government steps in. Oh, it's dangerous area. It's dangerous. Everybody stay away. Meanwhile, they're inside checking out what's down there because there is an inner earth. That's not a theory. That's fact. There are insides, hollow places within the earth itself where, large enough for entire civilizations to have lived. Inner earth cities, sometimes the government will create their own, deep underground military base, things like that. Or sometimes they simply dig to a pre-existing spot, things like that. But actually what I wanted to ask, truly, from just because I'm wondering, when it comes to like the paranormal and contacting, demons, like Solomon, Solomon, he contacted demons. He had his ring of power. I don't know if you guys know about that, but Solomon is one of the biblical characters of history. He was King David's son, and Solomon basically inherited specialized, what would you call it? Like an artifact, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's a special ring. It's called a ring of power. And Solomon had this special ring, and with this artifact, with this, I call it advanced technology that we have. It's so far advanced. It's actually ancient technology, okay? The technology that once existed supersedes anything, it would humble us today. If we were to experience that type of technology, we would say, oh, it's magic. It's magic. I don't know what that is. That's magic, But Solomon had one of these magical artifacts, and the story goes that he was able to command the spirits. And that's something that we see in that show, Supernatural, where the brothers Sam and Dean, they understand how many of these things work. And that's the main thing, So many people are ignorant. And I don't mean that in a condescending type of a way. No, I just mean that you don't have the information about how things work or how things are. So when you have the information, it becomes more easy for you to deal with a ghost, a demon. You understand what the protocols are when dealing
the
with
natural
these beings.
society is in what I like to call the cafeteria line of thinking. Okay, they all sit there with their trays and go, okay, what can I get next on my plate? There are people like us who are going, wait a minute, but I don't want that. I don't, I want to come over here and go to this line and then go over here.
Right.
Most people's way of thinking is very uniform because, oh, well, I heard it on the news or I heard it via this. I'm like, well, what research did you do? Well, I didn't do any research. Well, then what the hell? Well,
let me ask you some questions. So, as far as the paranormal goes, when we're talking about demons or ghosts or, spirits or whatnot, the first question I have is, we would probably both agree that it is dangerous or unwise for somebody who is unlearned or ignorant in these aspects to just jump right into the spirit world and try talking to...
Oh, yeah, I absolutely don't think anyone should just be jumping out and going and testing out a Ouija board because you want to have a fun night with your friends. You know, if you haven't seen any horror movie on this planet to know better, then I'm just saying these things exist and people don't think they are. And just because you try it once and it doesn't work because whatever the circumstances is, there wasn't any malicious spirits around you, whatever the case is, does not mean that the very next time you pull one of those out, they won't flip your life upside down and screw with you. And people who doubt this, you know, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Look up online. How many families in this country over the last 2 decades have had to sell their house, move, do whatever because they or their children screwed with something in that house that wasn't meant to be screwed with, and it retaliated, and it retaliated bad enough to where they sold their house or moved away without sometimes selling their house and just left their house there. You know, this is not a once in a 10-year occurrence. Okay, this happens all over America yearly.
Around the world, really.
Around the world, yeah. I mean, it really does, especially in countries who are more aware of the spiritual side. Like, for instance, the Japanese people. They've always been a people who tend to believe more on the spiritual. There are ghosts. It's not a question in their society.
Right.
They're, you know, why, and like, I mean, seriously, it's a big deal over there. If somebody dies in a house, they usually can't even sell it. They're that... I mean, they're
really in touch with like the spirit world.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why I resonate with those of the Pacific Rim. Like pretty much any culture along the Pacific Rim, they tend to be less religious and more spiritual, and they respect the spirits for the most part. You know, they have at least that much understanding that they give the spirit world or those other, you know, paranormal energies. They give them the respect that they deserve. First and foremost, that they exist, that they are there, that they are real. You know, They might not know more than that. But my other question was going to be, aside from like, you know, brand new novices just jumping right into Ouija boards and contacting the dead or anything like that. What about those people who are channels? You know, like what do you call them? Like when they're like open channels for spirits and they let the spirit talk through them or whatnot. How do you? Now, me personally, I'm just gonna say this personally, right? I think sometimes we get a lot of good information from sources like that, because I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
We do, but the problem is the few charlatans that have come out and been exposed obviously dilute the water for the rest of the world. You know, it's like finding it's the best way I can describe it is you know, like you said, you can't throw out all of the accounts of this happening because, you know, 1 or 2 people used to freaking do photoplasm freaking tricks and stuff in parlor games, reading people's fortunes and scamming them for money. You know, some of this stuff really does exist. You know, I'm a very firm believer that the mind can do incredible things, and people don't understand this. This is one of the reasons why voodoo shouldn't be screwed with. The mind is what fucks people up the most, and the drugs involved in the voodoo culture weaken the mind so that it's basically butter, and the person who's creating the quote-unquote voodoo zombies can make them do whatever they want because these drugs basically lobotomize these people. Our public has been having the same thing done via media culture instead of drugs for decades. A lot of the mass people out there have been so brainwashed, so their will just melted away as far as asking questions on certain topics go, like paranormal. And I'll tell you right now, there is a lot of stuff in the paranormal world that is really cool stuff that you can do. Just simple experiments. You know, you want to go try a cool experiment? Here's one for you. Take an unopened pack of batteries to your local graveyard. And you're going to have skeptics go, well, don't set it on the ground because the ground will drain it because it's taking away from the field of the batteries. I don't care if you nail it to a tree, hang it by string off a branch, put it on top of a tombstone, whatever you want to do. Go leave that go leave that pack of batteries in a cemetery for a night or two. Buy the little ones with the power test indicators on them. Save yourself some time. Go back and check those in a day or two. Bet you money they're drained. And people go, oh, well, it's because they were grounded, because they were laying on the ground, or they were doing this. They don't do that shit when they're sitting on a shelf in a store. They don't do that stuff when they're in shipping in the boxes on the ground. Okay, the boxes aren't made with some special material that helps from not get it grounded and drain batteries. Okay, so that whole excuse is out the window. Go try it. It works. As far as one topic I wanted to touch with you at some point today also was, we were talking about something that is shocking most people in this country don't know about. The 1 million+ people a year that disappear out of the U.S. alone. Just out of our country. Most people don't realize this. 1 million people or more. Every single year. That's like LA disappearing people. Okay, this is not a few people here and there. And even if you accounted the drug traffickers, the human traffickers, murders, runaways, all of that stuff, you wouldn't come close to 1 million people.
No.
Not mathematically. You just wouldn't. Okay? And we a lot of people have their own theories on why that's happening. Honestly, mine tends to go with the UFO crowd. I honestly believe that our citizens are being abducted away, secreted away to military bases, given away. There was a lot of people, if you follow the UFO conspiracy world, have heard of the meeting that Eisenhower had. A lot of people believe that during that meeting, what he gave up in exchange for superior technology was the right for this advanced species to take humans. And a lot of people said they set a boundary on how many they could take and they had to return them. And, that's not happening because I'm telling you right now, this is just in America, keep in mind, okay? Other countries have similar stuff happening, but even countries like China have less people disappearing than we do. 1 million people every year just gone, and nobody asks a question. There's been no news coverage of this. Have you ever clicked on CNN.com or?
No. What happens that I've seen is that occasionally, in order to acknowledge the problem of the ridiculous amount of missing people, not just children, but all kinds of people, they go missing every year, millions across, our realm, basically, is they'll do one story. They'll put out like an Amber Alert or whatever. They'll do one story on, little Susie Q has gone missing. Authorities are looking. Meanwhile, there are 40,000 other people, and they're pretending like they're concerned about the missing people, but they're not really concerned whatsoever,
Well, and what's really screwed up is people don't realize that, this is not a new thing, and the number is exponentially increasing every year, okay? Just back in the early 2000s, this number was below 900,000 a year. Mm-hmm. It's jumped by hundreds of thousands of people, and nobody cares. If 100,000 of any one type of person disappeared on this planet in one country,
that would be a big deal.
Everyone would freak. They'd lose their minds. It would be all over the news.
Right.
But nobody's covering this. It's like the Bilderbergs all over again. People who are watching this who don't know who the Bilderbergs are, I will get into that. Yeah. The Bilderbergs basically are an organization that meet very often. And it's high leaders. It's, princes. It's heads of banks, heads of state, lawyers for the presidents themselves, ex-presidents themselves. All kinds of people from these higher up things get together behind closed doors.
Or in the woods.
Granted.
Right.
And they discuss private matters that they won't disclose to the public. Now, the problem with that is I was shocked when I first heard about this because, you would figure, I'm just saying, if 120 athletes got together, journalists would be breaking down the doors of these hotels or wherever in the forest or wherever they were to find out what the hell they were all communing about. 120 of any major organization. But these are major politicians, like I said, heads of state, bank owners, Rothschild, huge names. And you don't see anything about it on TV or news. Literally nothing. No. And when I first read about that, I was going, wait a minute, what just, my world exploded. Because how could all this shit be going on? And keep in mind, some of the people for our government who go to this do so breaking the law because they're not supposed to be associating with other members from other countries, heads of state, without it being official business. And here they are behind closed doors having these meetings, and nobody wants to know what's going on.
Right. And that like I was mentioning in the forest because of, what is it?
Oh, I don't remember.
The Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
It's the Bohemian Grove, okay? The Bohemian Grove is an area in the Redwood Forest.
Oh, I wish
I think
had a
it's
picture
Redwood,
of it.
right? Redwood Forest, where all of the elites of the world meet from time to time. There are probably other groves, probably other places. I don't know if you knew this, but underground, under Redwood National Forest, there is a cavernous system, and the entrance to those caves is guarded by a gate, and the gate is in the shape of a giant metallic spider web. Have you seen that?
No, I actually haven't.
I'm going to show you that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
See, and this is why I love talking to him, is because we both know such diverse things from different categories that I can still talk to him, even being my brother. I've known him my whole life. And every time we talk, one of us will still be like, oh shit, I didn't know that. What's going on? And I definitely got to read up on that because I haven't heard about that at all.
Yeah.
I did hear something about caverns underneath it, but I didn't hear anything about the gate or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a gate in the shape of a spider web, which for me plays into this whole, I was talking with one of my patrons on Patreon about this, and I was letting him know that there is this worship of a female goddess, a female entity, by the elite of the world. You see, let me explain something. We, as far as like the mainstream, we're conditioned to worship, to send our energy out to some sort of masculine deity, the Father, the Father in heaven or whatnot. However, every single one of those elite world rulers, they don't worship a masculine entity, okay? They worship a feminine grand goddess or whatnot. And often that feminine goddess is portrayed as the spider goddess. She's the goddess of the spider or the goddess of the webs, which for me kind of ties into like magic and things like that, where they cast these invisible spells, some usually referred to as law, like, oh, the law says, well, what the hell's the law? The law doesn't exist. There's no such thing as law. It's in my mind, Like, I do things. The law is an invisible spell, which is simply words, It's just a statement, a command, an instruction, a direction, and it's in my head. And those are, like, I call them web form spellcasting. They're web form spells. And the reason that they're web form is because, one, they're invisible. I don't know how many people have ever been walking around and a spider web just gets you right in the eye or on the nose or something, and your whole body is like, oh man, you can't see the web, but you feel it, and it has a physical, real impact on your path that you're walking. That's why these web form spells, they're sort of invisible, but they're in your mind, But one thing I wanted to get back to was like the Illuminati, basically.
Okay.
So the Illuminati, that's a vague generalization of those who know something that the mainstream people don't know. They're illuminated. They're privy to information that we are not.
They're the upper inside elites. They're the ones that know what's going on with the plan.
Right. And so all of these members, of our world government, our world system, they are all, for the most part, it's a pyramid system, Not every single one of them just is a 33rd degree Mason and they know everything there is to know about everything, As they go down in rank, they know less and less and less and less. The few at the top, they're the ones who have the most information. That's why we call them the illuminated ones. They're the ones who have illumination. They have the knowledge. They have the understanding of how things work. Not just how our world works, but how universal laws work, how energy works, the ebb and flow of energy, how Adam and I right now, we have our own energy. We can spend that energy however we want to. Right now, we're sharing it with all of you. And we're purposefully deciding to do that, The Illuminati, the elites of the world, this is their currency. This is what they live for. This is their version of money, They could care less about pieces of paper, like, I got a little $2 bill here. They could care less about this. This is nothing. This is worthless. It's a piece of paper. That's all it is. I'm sure we could probably talk a lot about money itself, right?
Yeah.
But it's symbolic. This symbolizes a certain amount of energy that you are directing and giving to on an energetic path scientifically. You know what I mean? It's science. Like this is the laws of energy dynamics, basically. You have energy, and that energy is powerful, you know? But they give us this, and they say, here, put all of your energy into this right here, and then this will be representative of, you know, how you're going to get stuff. As opposed to the way it once was, which was bartering and like, hey bro, you're good at making food. How about you make my family some dinner tonight, and I'll fix, you know, your roof, or, you know, something like that. That's the way it used to be. We would mutually agree on how our energy, where our energy goes to. This does not direct you have no idea where your energy is going when you use things like this. But yeah, money used to say on it that this is, well, let me read to you. This note, it says this is a note. Just like when you write a note, this is a note. This is an IOU, basically. This is saying, I owe you this much energy, okay? I owe you something that is actually valuable, not this piece of paper. The piece of paper is not valuable. It says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. But it didn't used to say that, right?
Yeah.
No, it used to say this is exchangeable for gold or silver, which is substance, which is actually a physical, tangible thing that we can use for various purposes, you know?
Yes, that's basically, like, I agree with everything you just said. It's all about a power trip. It's all about controlling us, controlling the people, controlling your energy, controlling what you do, what you think, what you buy. All of it, every aspect of your life, which kind of links into what we were talking about earlier when we were on our way here. You know, I'm a firm believer that every time the government tells you they're going to make you safer, get ready to lose some of your rights because they're going out the window. You know.
Wait, say that again. Say that again once more.
Every time the government tells you you're going to be safer, get ready to lose some of your rights. It's just, it's a universal truth with our government. You know, oh, well, we're going to put cameras in. First, it was just to monitor street traffic controls and, you know, make flow of traffic better. Then you have cameras on streets mounted so that they can stop people from running red lights and ticket you. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem with being ticketed by a camera, most people go, well, how does that interfere with your, you know, your everyday stuff? How is that taking a right away from you? Well, in court, you have the right to face your accuser. How do you confront or face a traffic camera? You can't. No. Okay? They have a cop who wasn't there when the picture was taken, who doesn't whatever, come to court, and he goes, you know, well, yeah, the camera was taken on this day and this time. But the problem is he wasn't there. So how are you confronting, you know, yes, is it a small right as far as most people are concerned? Yes. But is it being taken away from you? Absolutely. You no longer have that right. Look, most people don't even realize in a lot of states, you don't even have the right to collect rainwater, which is absurd. You can't catch rain that falls out of the sky because the government tells you no. Why do they tell you no? Because they want that control. That control right here that Jason was talking about. Okay? They want that. So, no, you can't catch your own water. You're going to buy our water.
Right.
You're going to pay us for the pleasure of being able to stay alive because, let's all face it, water is something you need.
And that's going to actually get us into the water conspiracy that you were telling me about.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
But before we jump into that particular conspiracy, I just wanted to make note, especially for all the people who are just joined us. We talk about all of this type of stuff, okay? Alternative reality. A part of that is what people refer to as the paranormal. However, it's not just ghosts and demons and stuff like that. It is all interconnected. Everything in our realm is interconnected on various levels of vibration or dimensional states. These are the monsters that we fight. There are monsters as you would expect them to look and act, you know, whether they be DNA manipulated freaks in the underground military bunkers that people have created, or Bigfoot,
Plum Island's friggin'
Montauk
monster, you know, DNA replicated monsters, genetic mutations. There's all kinds.
And there are the monsters who look like us, sort of. Now, typically, I'm just going to throw this in there. The
you calling a
monsters of, like, the world, okay, yeah, well, they don't look like us, you know, but they look humanish, you know. They could just pass for a regular, you know, Joe on the street or whatever.
Absolutely.
Now, these are the Illuminati. They are the elites. They are the physical human embodiment and forms of monsters. When people like him and I, we look at these individuals, we can sense the energy that is within and around these particular beings, okay? We can tell there's more to the story than just a humanoid bipedal, you know, walking around living life, you know? But they are really monsters. So it's not just ghosts and, you know, vampires and mummies and stuff, which we're going to get back into, but it's real quote-unquote people and humanoid beings who look like us, whose goal it is to steal our energy and to enslave us and to keep us sedated so that we don't think. I call them the wall Martians, right? We've become the wall Martians. We are a nation and a world of Walmart robots, zombies, you know, that just bump into things. We don't consider things. We don't think analytically. We don't think reasonably. We don't question. We especially don't question.
We've been transformed into a nation of consumers, and that's all it is. It's
right.
It's that mindless, you know, and I don't mean consumer in just the typical fashion where you're buying stuff. I mean you're literally buying everything you're told. You're buying into their thought process, and they deprogram you from thinking independently from the beginning of your life. The way our government is run, the way our TV networks are run, our schools are run, our law enforcement's run, they're all modes of shit and ways to control you. Okay, they all have their own little system of rules that cohabitate with each other to act against us as the people. And you know, when people see that, it freaks you out, and people start yelling things like, you know, police state, conspiracy theorists, and we get all these negative connotations of conspiracy theorists. Well, the problem is a lot of conspiracies turn out to be true, and no one ever reports on that. Because then those people aren't conspiracy theorists anymore. Then there's just the dudes that brought this bad shit to light.
Right.
You know, so, yeah, I mean, some people take it a little further. And, you know, that's their right to. If they're digging into it and they believe what they believe, that's fine. But what I get at and what he gets at are things that are verifiable, that you can, I mean, use your brain and actually think about what we're talking about, look up some of the stuff we're talking about, and you can see things aren't right. I mean, you can look up interviews with politicians. One of my favorite shows from back in the day was Jesse Ventura had a conspiracy theory show. I loved that show because he would interview politicians about these supposed conspiracies, and anyone with half a brain looking at these people on camera going, you know, you're going, oh my God, that guy is lying through his teeth. Jesse Ventura was right.
Right.
You know, it's the same way in real life, man. Ask questions of your teachers, your priests, your doctors, okay? Ask these questions that come up to your head, even if they sound stupid in your head and you're going, God, he's going to think I'm insane. Because you know what? Sometimes when you ask these questions, it gets you further down the road mentally than they want you to go. And that's whenever cool, real shit starts appearing. And you dive, like I told him, down that rabbit hole, you know, and you start looking into it. I've looked into everything from the JFK assassination to the global water conspiracies, UFOs, Montauk monsters, biogenetic engineering, cloning. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. I could talk about it all day long.
And we're actually going to talk about those things, but we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. I'm going to go ahead and replay the intro so that we can take a break on our side real quick, and we'll be right back.
JayDreamerZ, think outside the box.
Throughout history, the boldest have dared to go further. They risk death, and in doing so live on forever. What drives these few to the ends of the earth? The desire to discover something more. The search for something greater. The world is full of unanswered questions. Beyond all limits or reason, the answers await. For some, discovering the secrets of the world is the only way to live.
Okay, we're back. That was just a quick little break for us. So, for those of you who are just joining us, this is my brother, Adam. He is really actually my brother. It's not your camera. He really is this big, okay? And we're talking about how him and I found our own unique path in life. Even though our paths were so different, you know, one thing that happened, one common theme in our lives over and over and over was that there's something more. There's something more to life. And we started independently, each on our own path without talking to one another, began investigating to find out what is it, you know, what is it that's missing from this world? Because I think that's something that we definitely have in common is there's an elephant in the room. You know, there's an elephant in the world.
The world is not projected the way that the average person sees it or is told to see it. I completely agree with that. Yeah, there's something off, and people don't talk about the off topics. People go, "Oh wait, no, that's not normal." You know, "Oh wait, that's weird."
Yeah.
You know, it's not weird. What's weird is nobody asks questions about this stuff that's going on our planet. You know, that to me is weird. I want to know what the heck goes on if I see a big swirling blue light outside my house and people are going, "Oh, well, it's a firework." Yeah. No. You know?
Or people go missing all over the place, or you see lights darting around in all kinds of directions.
Yeah, doing speeds and tricks and stuff that a human, as far as we know, physics-wise, cannot withstand.
Yeah, do me a favor, everyone. Don't wait for the news to tell you what that was, okay? Go with your intuition, go with your gut, and say, that's something else. I need to find out what that was. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to come out and just disclose it. At least not in a way that's obvious. I believe they have to disclose everything, but how they disclose it is kind of up to them. And just like
let's go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, just like Loki or like the genies, they're very tricky with their wordplay, their contracts. If you've ever
lawyers speak,
right,
yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we'll disclose everything.
Here, if you can make out the first...
Put it all in that new Avengers movie,
Yeah, put it... it's like the Independence Day... I don't know if any of you saw this, okay? When the new Independence Day movie came out, I've talked to people about this till I'm blue in the face, but nobody sees it except for people who tend to think like us. And let me explain this to you. After the movie Independence came out, the Army came out with a recruitment advertisement that they put on TV talking about fighting aliens. No joke, in the background of this thing, he's like, there's a dad sitting there, he's like, my son fought against them, and in the background it's all, aliens driven away by United States, whatever. We're being desensitized to this stuff for a reason. It's not just the film industry that's in on it. It's the film industry. It's the news media outlets, the newspapers. It's literally on every branch of entertainment you can think of. And these people are going, no, man, if people who talk about that wear tinfoil hats and they're freaking, they're nutbags. The fact is, I'm a pretty normal guy. My brother is too. The only thing that's not normal about us is the fact that we think with an open mind. We know how to see things that they don't want us to see. And, people don't ask questions. A lot of you probably don't know what HARP is. HARP is one of my biggest pitches right now because it has the capability of mind control. And it's documented to have the capability of not only mind control, but also of weather control.
That's what most people think it is. It's just, it's them manipulating the weather, but it's also
has so much more. Yeah, it's so much more than that. People don't understand that the human mind works on a radio frequency, okay? People don't understand that you can literally, and we can prove this now scientifically.
Yeah.
Okay? There are these plates. I don't remember the name of them. They're little metal plates. You can put them anywhere on your body, on your arm, on your neck down here. You can cover your ears while you're doing it, and it will sound like the shit that's playing in the CD player hooked up to these is speaking to you from inside your own head. Okay? We know that these frequencies are just like dialing in an AM, FM radio, okay? Mm-hmm. Too far one way, nope, you're not going to get it. Too far the other way, nope, nothing but static. But if you tune it in just right, crystal clear. And they have the capability of doing this now. And people go, well, I'm not being mind controlled. The problem is you wouldn't know if you were.
Right.
Okay, you're not going to go, oh my God, I'm being controlled.
Right.
This isn't the way our government works. They're not stupid. They're not going to make us all jump up and down and do jumping jacks to prove a point that they can control us.
Right. I'm not being mind controlled. That's the first sign that you should be very careful if you're being mind controlled. If you wonder, I wonder if I'm being mind controlled, then that looks a little better on your part, But if you come right out and say, I'm not being mind controlled,
and what's really funny is a lot of people who are like, well, no, man, HARP has tours that walk through. Yeah, that you can get in every 3 to 5 years.
Right, like Cheyenne
One
Mountain.
time, they'll let these people walk through and they'll go, look, nothing to see here. We're good. Here's some donuts and coffee.
Oh, come through Cheyenne Mountain. Cheyenne Mountain's where NORAD is in our backyard here.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, there's nothing going on at Cheyenne Mountain. They have tours, Yes. Hey, you, follow the yellow line on the ground. Don't deviate. Don't go. And they have top secret stuff down there. Yeah, they do have top secret stuff. They actually have things that are above top secret. They're not going to take you down into their lower levels. They're not going to show you things. What they're going to do is they're going to get you in, get you out, get you, a souvenir or some dumb shit.
Yeah.
And
they walk you through the safe areas.
Yeah. Thanks for visiting Cheyenne Mountain NORAD,
Here's your little button.
They might as well do that with Area 51. They might as well open up a gift shop, sell some retarded looking alien toys and stuff, Thanks for visiting Area 51. Have a great day. Make sure you spread the word, let people know there's nothing happening here.
And brief word on Area 51, that's one installation I have a major problem with. Okay, we the taxpayers, we the people are supposed to have the power because we're the ones paying the bill. Okay, if we're paying the bill bill for a U.S. government institution, we need to know what that money's going towards. And obviously there are exceptions, classified information or something. But the problem I have with the Groom Lake facility is there's no chain of command as far as people you can talk to. There's no guard at a gate you can drive up and be like, look, can I ask you a couple questions? Right. No. If you pull up to the border of Area 51, there are literally these little orange fucking flaglets in the ground about every 10, 15 feet. And it's a road, and it's, signs, do not go any further, government land, appropriate force will be used, lethal force is acceptable, blah, 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 blah. Well, number one, the problem with that is lethal force. Since when did trespassing become, a crime you can be put to death for in this country? Yeah. Number two is the problem is then if you stand there long enough, you'll actually see this little truck pull up on the horizon and sit up there with binoculars checking you out. And I have a problem with this because this is a government installation that we're paying for. We pay for Area 51, and a lot of people go, no, we didn't. Well, yes, you did. If you paid taxes, you helped. And people don't understand that, when you pay taxes, you're supposed to get representation on the shit it's spent towards. Yeah. Okay? Taxation without representation is a big deal in this country if you haven't read your history books. But we, the people now, let it go on like it's business as usual. Right. And the government will lie to you, and people buy it. That just recently there was a scandal where a government office had been accused of spending something to the tune of $60,000 on pens. I don't know where they're buying their pens, but I have never seen
$100,000 on a toilet seat.
Yeah, exactly.
$50,000 on a hammer.
Independence Day. I love it. I love the reference. Exactly. You don't tell me that, anyone believes that kind of crap. Because, the average person who gets told that a White House toilet seat costs $90,000 is going to go, what in the hell are you making your toilet seats out of? But nobody does this research. Nobody looks to where the money's going. And if, like in every villain story, a lot of the times you follow the money. Okay, you follow the money to find the evil, to find the monsters in our world. And I hate to tell you, but the money is controlled not by huge conglomerate corporations or any of this other stuff. There are handfuls of individuals, literally, I would honestly say less than 1,000 of them in this planet, that truly have any real power from their money. But the ones that do are the ones that control everything, that have their finger in every pie, every media outlet, who's, if they don't like a story, it doesn't get put on the air. Like I said, the Bilderbergs is an example of that. You never see, within the last 15 years, you've had like one or two stories because people brought it up at such a big level, like Alex Jones did on his show. Yeah. That they couldn't.
Alex Jones, if you're watching. Go ahead.
But, people came out and they say, hey, what the hell about this? And it gets some people's attention. So they have to kind of do a little news story about it. And they go, oh, it's just a group of people who are meeting. And yeah, but the problem is these people are the elite of the elite. And nobody cares what they're talking about. Or at least nobody in these news networks seem to care. I, as an average Joe, would love to know what the hell my government is doing behind my back. Yeah. And, people talk about depopulation all the time. I am a huge believer that we are being cut down like you wouldn't even believe. There are so many additives in our foods, our waters. Literally, if you look at the stuff that is allowed in your water, half of it is sterilization stuff.
And I want to touch on that. So there is a maximum amount that the elite of the world would like to see it at, okay, as far as population is concerned, okay? They don't want it to get out of control because then they understand, and we need to realize that giving respect to our enemy does not mean we agree with them. Okay, I respect our enemies in the knowledge that they have accumulated over a millennia, and they understand things like, okay, we want to get the maximum amount of energy out of the population, but we don't want it to exceed. We don't want the population to get so big that they can turn around and defend themselves or, take care of things the way they want to, rise up against us, basically. So there's this happy medium area that they would like to keep the population in so that it doesn't threaten the things that they're doing.
I agree. George Orwell's future is here, people. We are literally, like I said before, that's one of my favorite expressions, but down the rabbit hole here, okay? The government controls what you do, what you buy, what you think. They track you, they monitor you, and all of this is being used, whether you realize it or not, to control you to some degree. They want to know what you buy. Every time you swipe that little card at your grocery store to get your savings, okay? They're monitoring what you buy, what you do, what your habits are. You just put all that into the computer. And people go, well, it's just for the store. Well, have you ever asked them that? Because I guarantee you it's not just for the store. Okay? Oh. The store doesn't just go, okay, well, we want to know what kind of rice you like so we can stock up. No.
Your information that you volunteer and give away. Now, let me defend you guys for a moment, okay? I don't read the terms and conditions on a damn thing, Like, that's 14 pages long of fine print. I just click, okay, let me use this, and I move on or whatever. Same thing at the grocery stores or anywhere else. They're recording all of our information, building dossiers, putting your information that makes you unique into computers and algorithms in order to project into the future where you are going to be, how you are likely to respond, where you are likely to put your energy, if you are a threat or if you're not a threat, Yeah,
and a lot of people don't realize, man, like I said, even, social media accounts, all this stuff doesn't just go away when you click delete, okay? Text messages, all of it, okay? These are there are data research firms right now, and right. They're called a lot of different things, information centers. There's tons of different names for them. But the point is they are specifically designed to go online, to go on phone calls, to go through text messages, and record your personal habits, conversations, and what you believe in. And the problem with that as an American citizen is we're not free anymore. We live in a captive society. We are being told who we can hang out with, what we can do, what we can eat, what we can drink. I mean, our rights as Americans, we're like, land of the free, home of the brave. But the problem is we're not free anymore. We're damn sure trying to be brave, living in the stuff that we live in. But we're not free. Our rights are being taken away on a daily basis on small incremental scales.
No. Our benefits are being taken away.
There you go.
You already have all the rights that you need. I have them. He has them. We all have our rights, okay? It's just that mentally, remember those web form spellcasting I was talking about? We all sort of submit and we go, thank you for oxygen. Thank you for water. Thank you so much to let me pay you to stay on the ground, basically.
Going into the water thing, because you brought it up.
That's right.
To get back to this.
We're going to talk about the water conspiracy. I don't like the word conspiracy, but the water facts, okay? How the water is being used against us, and Adam's going to tell you way more about that. And then afterwards, I want to talk about aliens. We're going to talk about aliens, because we're talking about Area 51. I want to talk about aliens and all of that.
I'm down.
But what is the water conspiracy? What's going on with the water?
Okay, a lot of people don't realize that the drinking water, the fresh water on our planet, okay, it's a serious thing. We all need it to live. However, it is being taken by, literally the hundreds of millions of gallons. And it's being taken not by, huge water companies that are trying to sell it. Like Nestle and all these people who are getting the media attention. The problem isn't these single companies, okay? Way worse offenders than this are in public view buying up private water supplies and selling them back to you. One of the ones I was talking to my brother with not that long ago was a guy named T. Boone Pickens from Texas.
Oh yeah, let me type that. I'm going to put that in the chat here.
Okay, T. Boone Pickens. Texas water law says that if you can drill on your land down and get water or oil or anything else for that matter, you own it. T. Boone Pickens happens to have property, a lot of it, most of it, matter of fact, he's been buying up since he figured it out, over the Ogallala Aquifer, and I believe I pronounced that right. It's the largest aquifer in the United States. He, in an interview openly in the 90s, you can look it up, the T. Boone Pickens interview, he says, a lot of people ask me, well, you wouldn't charge for air, would you? And he goes, of course not, you need air. Well, what about water? You need water to live too. I'm not going to pay for water. And he looks right at the camera and he says, well, then you're going to go thirsty.
Yeah.
Okay. He looks right at the camera and he goes, you're going to go thirsty.
This guy, just to jump in real quick, I don't know as much as Adam does, okay? I'm still investigating. But this guy, T. Boone Pickens, He's basically buying up the underground water, okay, which is interconnected for the most part. So there's a lot of fresh water underground, and I know that there are, the waters above and the waters below or whatnot, but he's taking possession of the clean water that's underground, and he's looking right at the camera, and he's like, you don't want to pay for it? That's fine. You don't have to drink water.
Yeah.
With no reservations at all.
And this is water, people. Okay, this is not for some reason we've all been, you look at the store and you see Dasani or Arrowhead and, I don't mind paying a bottle of water. No, water is a human right. It is something you need to live. It's like oxygen.
Yeah.
Would you go in the store and buy a freaking can of Perry Air like on Spaceballs? When you open it up, you got to inhale the oxygen.
Right.
No, you wouldn't do that. Why? Because it's a basic human right.
It's a part of the world. You were born on the world. You have the right to live and go about wherever you would like to on the world. You have the right to eat. You can plant little tiny little things called seeds in the ground, and they will produce food for you and your generations to come. And last but not least, there's this wonderful thing called water, which is abundant, which is everywhere, and people are quarantining the water, saying this is my water, and then they're charging people for the water. And some people out there are paying for fancy water. You know what I mean? Like, you're paying for regular water, for water without crap in it. You're willing to pay $5-6.
Jumping in on that real quick. This is a fact, okay? Just for those of you who buy bottled water. Bottled water is regulated less than the tap water that comes out of your sink. And that is a verifiable fact. Which means they could literally put pretty much anything that doesn't kill you right away into water. And some things that will kill you over time. Okay? And it's in higher doses in that bottled water you're buying than it is coming clean out of your tap.
Yeah.
Okay, people are buying this stuff. And it's not just people, like I said, it's not just big companies. It's not even just this T. Boone Pickens guy. Recently, the Bush family bought the largest aquifer, they bought the land over the largest aquifer in South America. Okay, the Bushes are getting into water. Why? Because it's the new oil, which is also what they're in. Water is going to be the new oil. You will be paying dollars and dollars for little liters of it. If you look at it right now, it's more expensive than gas.
And I'll bet you, in the future, in the very near future, you're going to be paying for clean air as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, that goes on to the whole carbon emissions, global warming scam thing I was telling you about, okay? Our global warming is a myth, people, okay? Our planet goes through cycles. Okay, notice the global warming people never talk about the sun. There's a reason for this, okay? The sun rolls in cycles. It heats up our planet on a regular basis, hotter than cooler. Once it all started, all the temperatures started dropping and we were getting all those record lows in the early 2000s, all of a sudden all the global warming people went away. Now that we're experiencing a heat wave again this year, they're starting to come back. But the problem is, if you look at the people who started this, if you look at the people who started the movement of global warming, these people are the same people who just created, back in the 90s, the carbon tax credit emissions for companies, which is now $1 trillion a year business where companies buy and sell credits that they need or don't need to other companies for permission to pollute more. No one's polluting less because of these laws. They're paying to pollute more. Oh, wait, you don't have enough credits, but this company didn't use all theirs? They can sell you these credits at this price. And the people behind the scenes are raking in millions and millions of dollars. Al Gore's connected to some of these companies. Now, you have to look kind of hard to see their connections because obviously these people are in the limelight and they're not going to do things right out in the open. But through companies that he participates in, are founding companies of some of these other businesses. Okay, all of this stuff is what's pulled over your eyes so that you don't see the truth, which is the fact that pretty soon, like you said, we're going to be paying for air. It's not going to be just water.
Yeah.
People said, people back in the 60s and 70s were going, bottled water, please. Who the hell's going to buy bottled water on the regular? It's in every store, every convenience store, every gas station you go to now. And guess what? Pretty soon, if you don't buy it, you won't have it because the city already doesn't provide you with free water, do they? No, you got to pay for water. It's a human right, but you got to pay for it.
And also, if you look closely, we tend to live in an upside down world, okay? We live in Wonderland. This is not the way it should be. It's the opposite of the way it should be. So when you buy water and it's labeled something like life water, I'd be really skeptical about that because we live in an opposite world, okay? What's the opposite of life water? You know, come to those conclusions yourself. But let's get back into aliens. Let's talk about aliens. So I have some unique theories about aliens. I think I've shared some of them with you, you know. But one thing we agree on is that there are aliens. Aliens do exist. There are some over there. There are some alternate forms of, what would you call it? Like humanoid type beings. Okay, they're not humans as we are. They don't match us, but they are alien. They are foreign in their composition and what they look like, and you know, how they're structured genetically and things of that nature. Now, I'm gonna throw out there my idea of it. We already agree aliens exist. Yeah. There is a such thing, whatever it is, of aliens. Okay, aliens are real. Now, this is one of those things, you know, where you have to use some intuition. And then you need to balance it out with some facts, you know, some facts of the matter, balancing out your creative mind. Because honestly, I mean, how many people have ever met an alien, you know? We have a lot of references to go off of. So we need to use comparative research in order to find the common, you know, the common stories, the common descriptions, things of that nature. And then weed out the things that are not real.
Yeah, the false reports. And I mean, you're going to have false reports. What people don't understand is they go, yeah, that person's lying. The aliens must not exist. You're going to have false reports in anything. Okay? If you're a cop at a crime scene and you ask 5 different people what happened, chances are there's going to be a variant in every one of their stories because not all people know the same things the same way or at first.
Let me ask you this. Because I get this a lot. Okay? I get this a lot. Would you say that aliens are 100% demons? Because a lot of people, especially in those in the religious community, they would say aliens are demonic entities 100% across the board.
I'll see, and I myself am not a religious person. I do believe in higher powers. That's a whole other thing. Spiritual entities, things of that nature.
Yeah, we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, that's a whole other long, big basket to open. No, I do not personally believe aliens are all demons. I do believe some of them have some very malicious intent as far as our species goes and as far as our planet goes. Although I also do believe that there are aliens out there like the Palladians and species like that have been described that from all
seem
accounts
to be helpful.
Seem to be trying to help us. Those of you who don't know, the Palladians were the ones that supposedly asked Mr. Eisenhower, you know, for in exchange for advanced technology for us to give up all of our progression into nuclear weapons, things of that nature, which was struck, and it wasn't directly told no by our government to them, but what happened is before we answered them, supposedly then the Greys came, had their meeting with Eisenhower, and the Greys said, no, we don't want you to give up your technology, blow each other up to heck, we don't care. What we want is the right to take some of you and do some experiments. And you know, a lot of people report things like the Dulce base, which is really scary. Dulce base is, if you don't know, it's in New Mexico. It's an underground base that a lot of people believe holds both human officers and extraterrestrial officers.
Right, multi-level base in New Mexico. Dulce, New Mexico, it's a multi-level underground base, and the further down you get, the more restricted access becomes.
Yes. And a lot of people don't, you know, a lot of people go, oh, well, you know, that doesn't really exist, or that's been, you know, the problem with it is a lot of people who had firsthand, supposedly eyewitness, like I said, I don't know them, but they had supposed eyewitness accounts of this, and a lot of them have dropped dead of some seriously weird stuff. Suicides by shotgun, like the night before a press conference. That's typically
how it happens.
You know, things of this nature.
You saw some stuff? Awesome! We've got a special drink for you over here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the list of the names of the scientists that worked on the Star Wars project in the 80s. Everyone knows the Star Wars project. It was Reagan's thing to try to create space-based weaponry.
Which we are leaning towards right now.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, in the late 80s and early 90s, the scientists that work on this project, and keep in mind, there are literally like close to 100 scientists that worked on this one project. They dropped dead left and right from car accidents, overdoses, heart attacks. I mean, literally within a grouping of 5 to 8 years.
Everyone just died of natural circumstances.
Yeah.
Everyone who saw some stuff just happens to have passed away.
And
by
this
various
is how
means.
the Dulce base is, which is really weird. A lot of people who supposedly had first-hand encounters of the Dulce base end up dead. Yeah. Which is a really freaky thing to me, because I'm going, that's a hell of a conspiracy theory if it's true. But why would these people all of a sudden? I mean, some of these people are well known. They were making good money traveling the country, talking about their experiences and their witnessing, trying to raise awareness. They had plans booked for future dates, and the coroner's going, "Oh well, it's suicide." Well, he just talked to 9 of his friends the other night, and he said he was fine, and he was ready to do a press conference. Now, all of a sudden, he was sucking the other end of a shotgun. Our government does stuff like this to keep shit under wraps, and people don't realize that by thinking outside the box, you do put yourself in danger.
No, I like that you said that, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, you think outside...
That's my thing, okay? That's my thing.
You got to think outside the box, man. You got to have an open mind. You've got to... You know what? I mean, seriously, think about your world that you live in. And the world that you live in is one where, you're told a vast amount of lies that you have to sort through in order to find your truth or the truth. And everyone has their own version of a truth. Everyone has their own things that they're willing to believe to a certain degree. But I challenge you to push your envelope of what you're comfortable with dealing with and reading about. Yeah. And actually do some research into some of this, like aliens, okay? I don't care how much you talk about the, aliens don't exist or whatever. The fact of the matter is there are events in our history dealing with extraterrestrials or UFOs that cannot be simply brushed away as a natural phenomenon. The Rendlesham Forest incident that happened over in the UK, okay? Roswell. We went, literally, this is how gullible the sheeple in this planet are, okay? The cafeteria line thinking that I was telling you about earlier. When Roswell happened, they came out and said they found a crashed UFO and bodies, okay? A crashed UFO and bodies. That's a huge announcement for the government to make. And then they turned around in a newspaper article the very next day and went, nope, it was a weather balloon and a test dummy.
Right. Now, let me also point something out. Don't you think in the battle between all of the various world rulers, world powers, and countries, if during Roswell, the incident that happened in New Mexico in the United States of America, if aliens really landed, we have had our space race, we've had our technology race, don't you think that America would be one of the first ones to say, we have interacted with aliens, we're looking into this, etc. Because we're always fighting against one another. That has not happened, which tells me that we don't have individual countries. We don't have separate entities with borders and stuff. It just seems like we do. In reality, we have a one world government, a one world dictatorship that pretends, just like in 1984, where you've got this perpetual war happening, like this country is always at war with the other country. It's the same thing in real life. We pretend like we have enemies. We pretend like, oh, those people over there on the other side, they don't like us, I've never been to North Korea. I've never been to Russia. I would love to go. But why should I have some sort of hatred against these people just because they're a different country? And the news, which is 100% untrustworthy, tells me this is how you should feel about these people who live in the desert region or these people who live in the Pacific Rim,
And see, that's exactly what I mean. They're so focused on trying to keep us, the masses, focused on a new enemy, a new here on Earth. Oh well, we shouldn't like the North Koreans, or we shouldn't like the Russians because they did this, or the Russians shouldn't like us because of this. And the fact of the matter is we're all being duped by the same freaking individuals. Okay, it may be the same group of 10, 20, 100. I don't know, but the numbers of them. But I'm telling you right now, the same groups, which are not that big, of individuals are pulling the shit on every one of us, no matter what country you're sitting in. If you're in Germany, the UK, Australia, it doesn't matter, because your lives are being ran by the same people who are running my life, who are running his life, who are running this show on a daily basis. And that's what it is. It's a scripted show. Hey, you're going to show up, you're going to do your shit, you're going to say your lines, and you're going to go home, or we're going to punish you.
It's a giant play. It's a play. All the world's a stage. But I did want to point this out as far as what we were talking about with Dolce and the aliens coming down and visiting with our representatives. If you want to know more about that, a good book to check out is Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper, or Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper was murdered basically because he used to be in the Navy in one of the higher levels, and he was privy and he experienced alien, UFOs and stuff, and he decided this is wrong. I need to let the world know about this. Well, he was taken out with the quickness. Long story short, they tried to kill him once by putting him in a bag and throwing him off of a cliff, but he survived. But if you check out that book, there are a lot of great, documents in the book. Some documents include things like silent weapons for secret wars. That's a really good one. And also, what was the other one? Damn it. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff in this book. But he goes over in detail this meeting between the extraterrestrial, which means beyond the land. That's all it means, okay? It doesn't mean they're from space. It just means they are beyond the land, okay? Keep that in mind. Because our realm that we live in is incomprehensible to most people. There's not just life on the surface. You know what I mean? There's life everywhere. There's life beneath the surface, life in the oceans on the bottom. There's life up in the sky. There are a lot of places for extraterrestrials to come from or to come back to. That being said, as far as aliens and stuff like that, I just wanted to put out there, I've got a whole playlist. I talk about the aliens. The word aliens, alien comes from El, which means God. We've translated that to mean God. The El, the ancient El, the God. The word El is broken down into two pictures. It's just an ox and a shepherd's staff, which means strong leader. That's all it is. It's referring to the strong leaders. The El, E, which is really an I, it means my, it's possessive. The El of my, and then on means of, okay? Those who are of my gods. That's what alien means, okay? That's where the word alien comes from. And it's not just us. We are not the only ones here. We live in a wonderful place that is multi-dimensional, okay? There are various dimensions, frequencies, densities going off all over the place. Like we were talking about mind control earlier, we have devices, we have technology that you can put on and you can think commands to give to your iPhone, to your television. Now think about this. If you can think a command to a robot, to a computer, and it can pick up on your thought command, what is stopping other people from intercepting your thoughts? This is why you are designed and...
Or putting them in your head in the first place, for that matter.
Right. They're telling you what to think, right? And not just telling you what to think, they're telling you how to go about thinking it. This is why most of you, when you're thinking stuff in your mind, you're thinking in whatever language you were taught. Okay? If you want to avoid other people from reading your thoughts, don't think in words. That's my personal,
inner monologues.
Don't do that. Think in images, think in feeling, think in smells, think in anything else but actual words that you have been taught. Because those words translate into algorithms that can be picked up on by sensitive equipment, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, getting back a little bit onto the actual alien topic, a lot of people go, well, where's your proof? Where's your, if you look for it, it's everywhere. Our military, for instance, in training documents that are now in use, currently in use, they have literally entire sections on how to deal with an alien sighting, with a UFO sighting, with an actual close encounter of the third kind. They have all of this in military handbooks.
Yeah.
And
this is stuff you can find publicly.
Anyone who knows the military, who has been in the military, knows that the military only uses shit for a military mindset, and a military mindset is war, destruction, fighting, military.
Division.
Yeah. Okay, that's exactly what it is. And I mean, there's a release document that was released a few years ago that talks about non-terrestrial officers, and I won't get into how creepy that document is, because that's talking about some majorly weird stuff. But you can look up this type of stuff. Open your mind and expand your way of thinking. Don't just take shit at face value. Even what we're saying, go look at what we're saying.
Yes.
Go look it up. If you don't, if you agree with us wholeheartedly already, still go out and look up your own information, because you might see something that somebody else missed. Go back and, like I said, I'm a very firm believer of this. Aliens, as far as, like I said, we were talking about. You see, let's say you're sitting at your house and you see a UFO. Don't just go, oh my God, look at that. That's pretty cool. Someone else will get it on camera and I'll see it on the news. No, go pick up your phone and videotape that shit.
Right.
Let people know you saw this. Okay, if I'm camping in the woods and I see Bigfoot, I'm rolling out the camcorder. Okay, People don't understand that, you got to be in it to
investigate,
win it.
Look into it,
like the
actively participate.
Yeah, like the lottery says, you got to play to win. Well, the same thing happens with the truth. If you're not looking for it, you're never going to find it.
That's true.
Now,
on that note, we're going to take one last break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the current theories and revelations that have come to mind. Some things that I'm going to share, with my brother. Like, this is kind of where we maybe, I don't want to say part ways, but I'm going to talk about the Mandela effect, flat Earth, mud fossils,
I'm with
history,
you on the
the
Mandela
time
effect
lapse.
entirely, man.
So we're going to talk about all that, and then once we're done with that, we're going to open up the chat to questions and answers. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We've got more viewers today than we ever have. And if you're interested in hearing more from my brother, Adam, I would love to know this so that I can let him know, because I feel like it's very important for us all to play our part and to share our path. So we're going to take a quick 5 to 10 minute break, and we'll be back in just a bit. Okay.
JayDreamerZ.
Yes.
Think outside the box.
I swear to God, man, I'm not...
Throughout history, the boldest have dared to go further. They risk death, and in doing so live on forever.
It's hot because we're in
What
my
drives
son's
these
closet.
few to the ends of the earth?
This is,
The
there's
desire
green
to
screen
discover
right here.
something
Like, there's
more.
all these lights everywhere.
I'm trying not to be all
Search for
self-conscious, and I'm like
something
wiping
greater.
sweat. Oh.
No, dude, it's hot.
The
I
world
know.
is full of unanswered
But that's okay.
questions.
Like, we do our best.
Beyond
we have.
all limits
And
or
man, if I ever
reason,
do come back there, like, I want
the
to do
answers await. For some, discovering the secrets of the world is the only way to live.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong button. Okay, so I'm back. We're going to continue on here in just a bit. We're going to talk about some of the recent revelations that have come to light as far as conspiracies go, as far as, those subjects that I was just talking about. Now, keep in mind, my brother is not a flat earther, okay? But he is open-minded. So we're going to talk about things like that and the Mandela effect and all of the recent revelations. I believe that we are in a time right now, many people have dubbed the awakening, when revelation after revelation are coming to light. So those are things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about recent revelations, and then we're going to open up the chat for questions and answers. If you have a question during the question and answer period, type in JayDreamerZ, spell it correctly. It'll highlight it on my side so that I can see. We're not going to do that right now, but we will in just a little while. So whenever we get back into things, for those of you who are just joining us, this is my brother and I. We're talking about the esoteric. We're talking about alternative reality, the paranormal. All of these things are real and they are intertwined within our reality. The mainstream cannot comprehend these subjects. The mainstream cannot comprehend the things that we are discussing, the things that those of us out there, like so many of you, we can see them. It's almost like the movie They Live. On the movie They Live, they put on this special sunglasses and then they're able to see the reality of the world that's happening around us.
Rowdy Piper.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Rowdy Piper. Okay. All right, so thanks for joining us, everybody. We're wrapping things up here. We're towards the end of the video. The next thing I want to talk about are some of the recent revelations that have come to light. You know, there are some classic conspiracies like JFK, things like 9/11. I mean, we haven't even we haven't even gone into 9/11.
The surface of 9/11,
oh, man.
JFK, any of these things.
For me, let's talk about 9/11 real quick, okay? For me, 9/11 is so obvious. Okay, let me give everyone a little preface. I was in the United States Marine Corps when 9/11 went down. I was doing a FOD walk. I was picking up trash, basically, on the base so that the trash wouldn't get sucked into the engines as the planes took off. It's called foreign object damage. It's just basically picking up trash. When I was out in front of the barracks picking up trash, everyone made a huge fuss and ran to one particular person's room where they were watching 9/11 happening on the television. And I came in a little late. I saw, I think, the second building blow up or something. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. What movie is this? You know, because I didn't think it was real, you know. To me, it looked like something that was choreographed. It was like a movie, you know. It looked too good to be true, sort of. But for me, the moment I looked into it, the moment I began having an open mind and seeing what it's all about, I started seeing all of the evidence that just supported the idea that it's not what we were told. It's not what it was portrayed as.
Absolutely not.
Lots of theories. There are lots of theories out there as to what it really is. But the reality, and this is the important part, with all of you truth seekers and conspiracy theorists, the important thing is that we all agree there's more to the story. There's something else happening, you know?
Absolutely. And like I said, on 9/11, there's just too many things that don't add up. Anyone, even the people who lost family members and stuff, agree. There are so many angles that have not been explored, that have been blatantly lied about and misconstrued. Take, for instance, Building 7. A lot of people don't even know Building 7 fell. Okay? First time in history a building of that type falls from fire alone. First time. There's a lot of first-time things that happened during 9/11. I mean, rows of cars, I think it was 112 cars pulled from one street, completely burnt out shells.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, well, the ash was hot enough to ignite these cars on fire. The people were covered in the ash. There were people, anyone who saw the 9/11 tape saw hundreds of people in the street covered in ash.
Yeah.
Okay, I hate to tell you, but this burns a lot faster than a steel car.
Right.
Okay, or a building.
But they can find a passport from one of the terrorists.
Yeah, they can find
Ground Zero.
They can find a bone. They were identifying, according to their own words, they were identifying victims with bone fragments the size of splinters, but they couldn't find the black box that is a brightly orange painted steel, indestructible for the most part, box that is literally this big. Okay, people, it's not small. Okay, it's a huge indestructible box. First time we were unable to recover any of the black boxes from a wreck, by the way. Another first time.
Right.
A lot of this stuff people don't understand, man. And people go, well, it could have been a bomb that was planted. Well, the problem with the bomb being planted in Building 7 is if you look who was in Building 7, it's the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA. This building carried some major hitting companies.
Right.
Al-Qaeda was not sending people into this building to go set explosives.
Now, we're actually, I don't want to really get into 9/11. There's so much information out there that it's easily accessible. You can learn so much stuff out there, Let's look at some of the more recent conspiracies and revelations of truth that have come to light lately. The first one, the Mandela effect. I did a huge video on the Mandela effect. I heard about the Mandela effect a couple of years ago, and it was so mind-blowing, some of the examples that I had found, that I didn't really want to just jump right out on the internet and start talking about it or whatnot. I wanted to process it because it was, when I first heard about it,
it sets you back. It takes you back a step. You go, wait a minute, what? And you look into it, and it really is one of those things where you were like, before I say anything or do anything, I got to read some more about this, because your brain just goes, that can't be right. Wait a minute. I know that this happened this way.
Yeah, and now, don't get me wrong. I just want to say that there are some things in life that we mistake and we take for being something else.
Absolutely.
But there are some instances when it's beyond the shadow of a doubt. For example, mine was the Berenstain Bears.
Oh, good God,
okay?
yes.
Not the Berenstain Bears, okay? The reason I know this beyond the shadow of a doubt is because that's the moment in life where I was really interested in grammar and sentence structure and spelling and all of the rules that go along with that. So I remember and I recall asking many times, why is Berenstain seem to be an exception to the rule? And they were telling me, well, it's I before E except after, you know what I mean?
And let me get into that a little further. Me and my brother were both read to read a lot, okay? When we were little kids, we were reading books and books and books a week, okay? That was the way we were raised. This isn't something that was just out there. I'm totally with you on the Berenstain Bears one, because like I said, we owned the books as children. Yeah. I remember it vividly. I know how it was spelled. It'd be like it's so vivid in my mind and in his mind of how this was, that it would be like changing a fundamental way that you lived and going, right. Oh wait, I don't notice that. No, exactly. You notice it. The Berenstain Bears was the good one. The one that got me honestly the most, I told you, was the globe. I actually just showed him a picture during our break. If you type in Mandela effect globe, off to the left-hand side of the globe, right off Australia's coast, there is a continent that if you were to turn it sideways is longer than the entire coast of the Australia continent that is on these globes. That is a continent that is literally not on any map anymore, anywhere.
Right.
It's just there, and it's a huge continent. It doesn't have a name on the globe on the continent like most of the other ones do, North America, South America, Australia. It's just a big, blank landmass. And there's no explanation as to where this went. And when I first saw that, after I had gotten into the Mandela effect and done some of my own research, I went, wait a minute. How does a huge landmass disappear off of maps? I mean, I understand maps were made that were in the 1800s being edited. I understand that. But I'm talking about globes and shit we used in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, okay? This is not that far ago.
Now, for me, it doesn't seem to be a problem when you're in control of all of the maps and all of the production of everything, It's so easy to hide land. It's so easy to just manipulate things and just erase an entire continent, entire piece of land, or an island. There are lots of undiscovered islands out there. But as far as the main theories go, some people think that it's dimensions colliding. A lot of people have speculated on time travel, which is what we were just talking about. You had an interesting theory about time travel, as far as because I was saying I don't know about time travel because it seems to just affect the tiny things, like logos, movie quotes. But what were you saying about that?
Well, the reason I believe that it could be, like I said, I believe in a couple different theories about the Mandela effect. I'm doing research into all of them right now, so I haven't narrowed it down to one. But the time travel, what rings true to me is if we had, as a government or as a world, the ability to time travel in the future, and let's say go back and change things, the government's not going to go back and change some huge event in history because obviously they already know it has effects. People like who are experiencing this Mandela effect, they remember it the other way. So they're not going to change some huge aspect. They're going to work on the small things. What happens if I change this to this in a movie? A movie's not going to change your life, so who cares if the line was, life was like a box of chocolates instead of life is like a box of chocolates. Right. Most people aren't going to notice that type of thing.
Insignificant, tiny
just
changes.
Just tiny little changes.
I can see that.
But the problem is whenever it gets into there, like I said, I believe that if you go along with the time travel aspect of this, that they're using it in such a way that they're careful enough not to be caught doing it by changing major events. They're trying to change small things and figure out how that echoes through the time loop.
Right. And
that way they can control tiny little events in our past that will change huge outcomes later that people won't see the connection with.
And I wanted to touch on that as well, because somebody in the chat, looks like Tommy Lee. What's up, Tommy? Thank you so much for your input. He reminded me of the Philadelphia experiment, okay? Time travel is not just all sci-fi, fantasy, etc. We have been actively, at least not we, but our governments and the world rulers, they have been, and it's documented, experimenting with time travel.
Openly
and manipulating time itself, manipulating our reality. CERN is a perfect example of that. But the Philadelphia experiment was, if you don't know the story behind it, I highly recommend researching it. Okay, don't take our words for it. But from my studies of the Philadelphia experiment, basically they had a ship out to sea. They had rigged it, and I think I had heard Tesla may have been involved somehow, but I can't remember 100%. But anyhow, they had rigged it with these structures, I don't know what to call them, these inventions that some people say Tesla had invented himself, and they had put those structures on the ship in order to change the frequency of the ship itself. Eyewitness accounts had said that the ship disappeared, that it became invisible, and it ended up miles and miles away, that the crew members of the ship had also disappeared.
I think the same thing. I think that the same thing you're talking about. It was counter-rotating things of Mercury or
right.
Something to that effect that they moved on to there. I think that's what I remember reading, and I do remember something about that Tesla being mentioned. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a little fuzzy on that one. And
people didn't know what was going to happen. They were taking this innovative technology, okay? But here's what I was talking about earlier. When you don't understand something, it's not a good idea to jump and dive into the shallow end just because you're excited to be at the pool. It's a good idea to take your time and feel out the waters. But these people didn't do that. They set up the ship. They rigged it with, these different machines that could manipulate frequency and vibrations. The ship disappeared, and then where it reappeared, some crew members were merged with the ship itself. They had fallen into the ship. Arms were sticking out of walls. People were stuck in the decks. And some people had reported to be stuck in time itself. That they were just like frozen in time, able to witness and perceive everything that was happening around them, but they were stuck, kind of like when you have a bad dream and you're trying to wake up but you can't move. It's like sleep paralysis, except these people were fully aware of their surroundings. They knew what was happening, and it kind of drove them insane. That's the Philadelphia experiment. Some other topics I wanted to talk about. The Mandela effect, just to sort of touch on that real quick. This is something that has substance to it, okay? The reason it has substance, and you can apply this to any conspiracy, any alternative way of thinking. You look at all of the stories, you put them together, and you see what holds fast throughout all of the stories,
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, the Mandela effect, you have to understand, me and my brother can go on about this stuff literally forever. There's so much we haven't touched, and it seems a little rushed and a little bit here. Like I said, like he said earlier, it's not scripted. There are a lot of things. So if you guys want to know more from us, or you guys, hey, if you want to do another video, if you want another video of my brother and me, or of my brother to touch on another topic, just let him know. There are a lot of things that we can't touch on because of time relation. Like I said, 9/11, JFK. I'm huge into both of those. And all I'm going to say about JFK is, if you haven't seen the video, just watch it, because basic physics tells you when the guy gets shot and his head goes back and to the left, he got shot from straight ahead and to the right.
Right.
Anyone will tell you this. Okay.
And also, that's something that I wanted to point out. These things are revealed to us in movies, television. They're painted as fantasy, you know? So keep this in mind while you're watching TV, reading a book
Media
or anything.
desensitization of all things, man. UFOs,
Yeah.
JFK.
And
it's
disclosure.
right out in the open.
Disclosure in the place you wouldn't expect. So you don't realize it's actually disclosure, you know? The other one, flat earth. Let's talk about flat earth. You're not a flat earther.
I am not.
Okay, so I am. This is awesome, right? We're family. We're close. I know a lot of you out there have had problems with family when talking about things like the flat earth. But because... flat earth theory, but because him and I are so open-minded, because we already have a foundation of there's a problem, there are conspiracies, these things do exist. It's not like when I bring it up to him, I'm not getting ridicule. I'm not getting like,
Yeah, don't turn around and go, are you freaking insane?
Yeah,
You
bro,
know,
that's ridiculous.
That's not the
let's
way it
talk.
works.
Let's
You
go
have
back
to
to talking about reptilians. Like,
And that's
flat
what,
Earth is crazy.
That's one thing I really do want to touch on for 2 seconds is when we tell you open mind, okay, it doesn't mean open mind with your ideas that you believe in, okay? It means an open mind to everything. If my brother comes to me with some of his flat earth things, I don't go, flat earth, because I don't believe in flat earth. Get away from me with your flat earth stuff. I don't do that, okay? I have an open mind. And because of that fact, there are things I read about at first where I went, that's a load of crap. Having an open mind allows one to change your perspectives, to openly investigate things and find out whether or not they're true or not. And for me, like I said, I've actually gotten a lot closer to the flat earth theory than I used to be just talking with my brother, because he makes a lot of good points on it that I can't really openly refute. I go, you know what? Okay, that's a way I didn't look at it before. But you got to have an open mind, and that's what I want to say. Me and him, we can express our ideas openly, even if we don't agree with each other. There's no need in fighting each other because you don't agree with somebody's thing. Do your own research. But while you're doing your research, keep an open mind, because you're not going to find what you're looking for if you're set on, no, this didn't happen this way.
Right, exactly. Or, I mean, honestly, some people are just, there are some subject matter that people are just not interested in, you know? There are some things out there that are even conspiracy based that I'm just really not interested in. They don't strike me to my core, you know? There are certain subjects, and this is why I wanted to have my brother on tonight, because we have our own areas of specific interest and you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like...
It's our own
invested.
Yeah, it's our own invested research that it's what we were interested in. You know, that's what's beautiful is we can sit here and talk, and I can learn about shit that not necessarily I'm not interested in, but things that never really caught my ear or caught my mind before. Right. And same thing with you. You know, I know a lot about, like Jason said, ghosts, paranormal things, deep state conspiracies, black budget things, vampires.
He does know a lot about vampires.
A lot of shit. But the thing is people have to be with an open mind. That's all we're trying to get across here. And I love having the opportunity to come on my brother's show and talk with everyone and talk with my brother openly about this stuff. And I'm going to let him take it here from some flat earth stuff, because I don't know a whole lot about it.
No, that's okay. So, in a nutshell, basically, about 2 to 3 years ago, the word search on Google, you can see the analytics behind various words that are searched, because like I said, like we were saying, they record everything. Some of that information they make public and they share with us. The term flat earth took off about 3 years ago, somewhere around there, and people were actively looking into it, just like hollow earth theory, which is actually how I got into researching flat earth theory, because I know that the earth is, for the most part, has cavernous areas, that it is hollow in many places. It's not filled with lava all over the place, you know? We don't live in a giant lava ball with a crust. You know, I know that there are civilizations based on ancient history, based on religious texts, based on personal experience.
Indian tribes, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fact. This is something that has been established over time, that there are hollow areas in the earth that have given rise to cities, civilizations, bases, etc. And that's how I kind of got into like the whole flat earth thing. Because honestly, bro, I was researching hollow earth theory. I had not even heard of flat earth theory. And then I exhausted all of my research on hollow earth. And I saw some flat earth videos. And I was like, well, I have time. Let's check this out, you know? Let's see if maybe... You know, let's just see what it's about. And so a lot of these people, they were presenting, you know, evidence, supporting evidence, not some home run out of the park, like, here's the answer, just like all conspiracies, you know, like all of this alternative information. Him and I don't have a Polaroid photograph of people at the Bohemian Grove. You know what I mean? We've never been there and snuck in ourselves, but we've done enough research and heard from others and learned the stories so that we can see what resonates. We can see if there's something of substance, that there may be more to the story, you know? And that's kind of how that got me into researching flat earth theory. Now, the interesting thing for me about flat earth theory is that I didn't stop with that. I kept on going. I said, okay, well, let's speculate, if this is all true about the earth being flat, what are the implications of this? And how does it tie in to everything else that I've learned so far, you know? And basically, the main thing for me is that, one, I don't trust NASA, you know? I know you don't trust NASA.
At all.
We've got the moon landing, which we did not do. There's no moon landing, okay? Like, that's all... This is stuff that we can agree on. These are our common understandings, okay? We don't trust the government. We don't trust NASA. We don't trust these various organizations that we know are lying to us, okay? Based on our path that we are walking and our own individual research into it. Also, I'm just going to be honest, sometimes we go with our gut. Sometimes we say, wow, that resonates with me. That sounds about right, you know? Let me balance it out with a little information on my own and check it out, you know?
Yeah, like we were just talking earlier, real briefly into this. We were talking about a file footage that was released by NASA of an object that if you are led to believe that the sun is as far away as we've been taught, this object that flew directly through the sun on this footage was roughly the size of Earth. Okay, it's huge. And NASA cut the footage after it happened, and then they tried to say, oh, well, it passed behind it. But the problem with that is if you look at this object, number one, when it exits the other side of the sun, there is an actual plume of, of
something
material.
Definitely went through the sun.
The second thing is if you have to remember, at that point, we've also been lied to physics-wise, or at least not told the entire truth. Because as far as we know, anything that gets within 1 million plus whatever it is, I'm not sure of the exact number, but whatever gets close enough to the sun melts. There's not a material we know of.
It doesn't take a genius to figure that out either. The sun is hot. Don't go near the sun.
Yeah.
And
so the fact that something the size of our planet went through this thing, through the sun, you know, and NASA goes, oh, well, no, that wasn't what it looked like. And then they take the footage off their site completely. And they've done this quite a few times with footage on NASA. You'll notice when they're on one of the last spacewalks, one of the astronauts did this as he's, you know, fixing stuff outside there so that his hand's in front of the camera all super huge. And
oh my God, there are so many anomalies and things that are just completely wrong when you start really breaking down NASA footage of the ISS, of the spacewalks, of the flag,
so many,
of the moon
so many
blowing in
things
the
you can
wind.
point out that's just ridiculous.
And
There's no stars, there's no...
Yeah, most people, they just accept it. They're the sheeple, they're the robots, they're the zombies, you know. They just say, why would they lie to us? You know, they give us everything we want to in life. Brains, give me your brains.
I love it.
That's pretty much
That's
what
what they need,
you know?
is brains. I'm telling you, the zombies need brains, okay?
Right.
The people
They
in
want
our
your
society, they do. And the people in our society, man, like me and you, dude, we're the ones that are going, no, don't eat the other white meat, okay?
Right.
You know, this is not all that's been explained to you. The flat earth theory, like he said, there are some points to it that resonate with me even, and I'm not a believer, okay? There are parts of it that go, well, shit, that would explain a lot, okay?
Right.
Like the one world order, okay? A lot of people don't believe. They think, you know, you hear New World Order or One World Order and people go, oh, good Lord. No, okay? Now think about this. If it's true, how easy would it be for this group of people to go, oh yeah, we've been in space.
Right.
Yeah, we've done this, that, and the other thing. No 12-year-old is launching satellites into orbit, okay? They're not going to know.
Oh, well, let's do some role-playing. This will be fun. So, I'll be a proponent of the system, okay? And you be like a moon landing denier, okay? So, I'll say, well, bro, why would they lie to us, bro? Like, wouldn't it be really hard to keep a secret of that magnitude?
No, not at all. See, our government keeps secrets all the time. Most people don't know about the black budget projects we have going on right now. Not even 20 years ago, we had projects that we had set up we had attacks. We were going to use U.S. soldiers to attack Miami, Florida, and claim that the Cubans did it.
Bro, where do you get that information from, bro?
Get it online. You can look at declassified documents. You can look at websites, news stories. You can look at papers from around the world.
Bro, anybody can write anything online, bro.
I agree. Anyone can write a book about anything. Doesn't make it true. But if you do research into it and you do your own investigations, you come up with your own facts. Now, you don't have to agree with me 100%, but the fact of the matter is that I can point you to all of the things I have learned, and you can try to refute them if you want, but they're there.
Right. So what it boils down to is, do you want to go down that path? That's really what it boils down to.
Really does.
Let's be honest with ourselves. If you don't care, if you're not interested, if you're like, I'm not going to check that out. I don't really care. I'm okay with going with the story I've been told. But I do like this other stuff. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to find a commonality with other people, find out if they're even interested to begin with, you know? You don't want to come out and start a conversation like, bro, you know the earth is flat, right? Bro, you know, like, reptilians are real, bro. I just thought I'd tell you that, you know? You don't start a conversation that way. You find out where you can meet on that path.
And by the way, people like that are the reason some of the conspiracy people are considered nuts, because they walk up to people, they've seen it, they really do.
Yeah.
And they're like, the earth is flat, man.
Yeah, okay,
weirdo. Okay, dude, get off of me.
Thank you.
You know, but the problem is it's like the lady on the news that you always see after a tornado, okay? They never show some businessman in a suit going, that was horrible. What do they always show you? They show you the freaking 300-pound chick in the moo-moo and hair curlers going, my house just went over the hill.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, it's all about perceived image and what you're open to.
Now, the last thing that I really want to jump into, because for me, it's a detrimental and core piece to the grand conspiracy. Because personally, I believe in a unified conspiracy theory. That all of these things that we've been talking about and so much more, they are 100%, without the shadow of a doubt, interconnected and related to one another. There is a bigger picture going on. That's what I do at my channel. I provide little puzzle pieces, little breadcrumbs, little fragments of the bigger picture. And I know that all of you out there have your own pieces. This is what we need to do. This is
You're the children in the woods, and we're Hansel and Gretel, okay? We're dropping some breadcrumbs, so don't go to the evil witch's house and buy the drink the Kool-Aid, okay?
Exactly.
Follow it to safety.
Now, here's the other thing. We as the general population, okay, we outnumber those our slave masters, okay? That's always how it works. The slaves outnumber the slave masters. So how do they keep control? They keep us divided. They keep us separated from one another. The way we gain control back is to unite, not looking. I mean, that's what we do, isn't it? Like, if I just met my brother off the street, we might agree on a few things, but the moment he talks about something that's a trigger for me, or, you know, something that I don't subscribe to.
I always tell people, okay, the world as we know it would cease to exist in the way that we see it if you got rid of the things that divided us, that our government always pushes, at least one side of it openly pushes, okay? Money, religion, politics, okay? If you got rid of all three of those things, you know, I don't care what people in Iraq are eating or doing or how much they're charging for whatever, that's their country. But because we have media and all these other places who are going, oh my God,
right, exactly.
You know, we have to not like them.
Right. How about like just play acting? What's up, bro? God is good, bro. God is good. Like, you agree God is good? And by God, I mean Allah.
I mean a four-headed lion, but
you know, a four-headed lion, you heathen, you horrible person. I'm gonna go get my people to annihilate you and your family. You know what I mean? That's division. It's retarded.
People say your body's a temple, Adam. Your body's a temple. Yes, but I'm not religious, so what I like to do is rent my temple to demons from time to time to throw private parties. Okay?
You have no idea. Like, so many people are going to do a video on that now. Cut out that one piece. JayDreamerZ family is satanic.
Color in my eyes black. They're going to be...
Okay, so let's get back on focus. The last thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to open it up to questions and answers, is mud fossils. And this is something I've kind of mentioned to you from time to time. Not a lot. I haven't got into depth about it. And the reason for that is basically I respect my brother, okay? So I'm not the type to force anything upon him. I'll throw it out there, and if he wants to know more or talk about it, then I talk about it, you know what I mean? And I'm by no means the expert on the theory or whatnot. But basically, mud fossil theory states, first of all, in order to go down the path of mud fossils, you have to already have some sort of a concept of the reality and existence of giants, right? Yeah. And you already believe giants
I agree,
are real,
giants
right?
existed. I absolutely agree. Giants existed on this planet, and there's tons of evidence to point to it that people don't look for.
Like what?
The stone rock statues literally, there are entire mountains that look like people that have fallen over and been petrified. There are examples of giant footprints that nobody can explain, and they're going, oh, it's natural. No. Okay, if you look at some of these giant footprints, even people who study feet, okay, doctors who study footprints specifically, right, have said that if somebody faked this, they know a damn lot about human feet.
Right.
And not just like anatomy, but you have to understand, a human foot tells a story. It tells how you stand, how you walk, which side you favor. Yeah. It tells a lot of details. So it's not like some of these people just came out here with some sandpaper and rubbed down some rock into a footprint. No. Which, believe it or not, I've heard that as a theory. It explained how these footprints came about.
Right. People try to plug in the missing information with all of the other information that has been supplied to you by the system itself. So if you're here and then you can get to here, but there's something missing in between, the sheeple of the world, the zombies of the world, they will take the information from both sides, which has been given to you, your conditioning, and they will fill in the gaps by creating something that sounds more feasible to them. But getting back into mud fossils, you have to have established giants existed at the very least, at one point in time, okay? Personally, I see lots of evidence that giants still exist and walk among us today, that they keep into hiding until a particular time when I believe we're going to see a lot of giants returning to our world. But getting back into the mud fossil theory, basically it says this ancient world, for lack of description, the world of Atlantis, the pre-antediluvian world, the pre-flood world, the time where we lived in a fantastic age, where almost nothing was off limits. Nothing was unbelievable because it was more magical, more fantastic and sci-fi than what we are used to today, right? This is a land of giants. This is why we have giants permeating our cultures across the realm. We have giants in our stories, giants in our movies, giants in our nursery rhymes. The reason for that, people don't make up myths and legends in order to get their children to go to sleep. That's not where it comes from. Myths and legends stem from the extraordinary that has happened in reality, factually and historically. Absolutely. Giants are real. That's why we still refer to them. That's why we still talk about them. Now, I like to think about that. I accept the fact giants are real. Now, I ask myself the implications. What did they look like? How did they procreate? What did they eat? Where did they live? I ask myself all of these questions using the same research methods that got me to the point of realizing that giants exist. So basically, mud fossil theory says that entire antediluvian world, the old world that we're not taught about in schools, that old part of history, the golden age, the age of Kronos, the age of Saturn, the age of the Titans, and the gods of Greek legends and Roman lore, that was a real occurrence. That was a real point in our history, but it has been deleted, erased, stripped away, and hidden as we've raided all of the greatest libraries in the world. We've taken all of the greatest artifacts from the world's best museums. This is personally why I believe that we have war. I don't think war is about just killing all the other people. I think war is going and invading and taking all of those artifacts of power or scrolls of power or information about the old world.
I'm going to jump in right there. Because, okay, a lot of you don't know about, or a lot of you have heard about Desert Storm, I'm sure, that happened in the 90s. One of the things you're not going to hear on mainstream media is that Saddam Hussein, one of his major bunkered down areas, was in a museum. Okay, it wasn't a military base. It wasn't anything else. It was a freaking museum. Then we came in. We ended up clearing it out. And did we leave the museum? No, we stayed there. The U.S. government army stayed at this museum for months after we cleared it out. And a lot of people believe that we were looking for Stargate technology.
We're looking for something that belongs in a damn museum, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not looking for weapons of mass destruction. Now, don't get me wrong, there very well may be some sort of ancient technology that can cause mass destruction. But nothing on the terms of how we're familiar with it.
Yeah, not nuclear weapons or any of that jazz. No. They were looking, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of popular belief is they were looking for a Stargate. Iraq has long been known as a home of one of the Stargates that are around the world. A lot of different cultures have Stargates. They reference them as Stargates, which is also very interesting because if you check around the world, even in different languages, it all pretty much translates to a Stargate.
Right, exactly. And Stargates are real, according to my path and my research that I've done, and many of you out there as well. Now, what is a Stargate? I've got a lot of theories on that. I want to recommend to everyone, please, if you're new to my channel, feel free to go and check out some of my older videos. I talk about all these subjects. But Stargates are real. They are places in the heavens, up in the sky, near certain stars, where there are windows or gates or doors or portals where otherworldly entities or aliens can come and go, okay? Now, we've been conditioned to think, you know, for example, with the Dogon tribe, an alien entity comes down, talks to a tribal, humanoid people, and they say, "Where are you from?" And they say, "Well, we're from the second star to the right, straight on till morning," you know?
Neverland.
Just like Peter Dan Pan, right? Peter Pan, which translates to father, Pater. Peter means Pater, which means father. Pan, Father Pan, Kronos, Saturn, etc. There's truth to all of these things.
And I'm going to jump in real quick here on something that I wanted to, you just kind of reminded me of it, so I want to just freelance in here. Betty and Barney Hill is a very famous abduction story. As a matter of fact, it's one of the first that got world-accredited news teams to investigate it. Mm-hmm. A lot of the problem is people don't look at the actual significance of Betty and Barney Hill's testimony. Betty Hill was able to draw a replica map that she supposedly saw on this ship. Now keep in mind, this happened a long time ago. Okay, this is like, I believe it was late 50s.
Yeah.
Okay, this woman saw a map on this ship that she was abducted to and drew it accurately. Now at first, we didn't know shit about space for the most part in the 50s, so people just wrote it off as, oh, this old crazy lady says she saw something. Now, when you compare her map, it's the drawing, I mean, literally the exact copy of an actual star system, which is a trip because they didn't even know this thing was there in the 50s. Right. So there's no way she could have been like, oh, I saw it on a star chart on this. Or they didn't have AOL or Google Maps or Google Star Maps. Right. Okay? This lady drew an accurate map of the Alpha Centauri, I believe it was. An accurate map. I'm talking about every celestial body that we see currently.
Yeah, and that's the same story as the Dogon tribe. The Dogon tribe knew of the star Sirius and its counterpart, Sirius B, and I think maybe even Sirius C. You can't see them with the eye. You need a very high-powered telescope. The Dogon, I don't know, I think maybe 100 or 200 years ago, a long time ago, they had no earthly business knowing anything about these stars that are binary or even trinary, and yet here they are drawing them out for the conquistadors, you know, the white Christian conquistadors that basically come in to say, you need to believe this. Well, they first asked, what do you believe? And the Dogon tribe are like, oh, well, let me draw it out for you. Here's how you get to this place and that place. But I want to come back to mud fossils just real quick. Basically, mud fossil theory says the entire ancient world, the giants, the titans, the god, all of the flora and fauna, which were much bigger the further back we go, This is another lie we've been told, that the further back in time you go, the smaller people became and the stupider people were. We're just cavemen.
Jesus was alive. He was 3'2".
Right. It doesn't make any sense. It's the opposite of that, is what I've come to believe. We go back further in time and humanoids were smarter and smarter, healthier and healthier, bigger and bigger as we go. Now, mud fossil theory basically says there was a war. This is my explanation, okay? But there was a war between what is known as the Titans and the gods, the god race or the El. That's probably going to be my next video. I'm going to be talking about who are the El or the Elu or the Elohim or the Elva, the Elvin race, etc., and so on and so forth. So keep your eyes out for that in a couple weeks. But there was a war between the two. This war was so fantastic, it makes our wars today look like pea shooters and children playing with one another, okay? This was a magician's war. This was a wizard's war. This was a war on a scale that you can't even imagine. You can only read about it in the Mahabharata or the Vedic scriptures and writings, some of these older writings from various cultures. One of those weapons, there were many weapons that were just magical if we were to examine them today. One of those weapons turned all life, all of the bad guys, into stone. And this is where we get our legends of the ogres and the trolls and Medusa. All of these giant beings, Medusa, turning into rock. They have turned into rock, and their remnants are everywhere if we have the eyes to see them today. And this explains for me perfectly how you can find ancient technology that's been petrified.
And once again, looking at how we were talking about earlier about how people see conspiracy theorists, which I don't really agree with that term.
Nobody likes that word. But only the people who label it.
Let me give an example for those of you. We all know that you guys are here because you want to think about this and you like this and whatnot. But I want to give you an example of what kind of bias you're looking at. People hear us talking about giants and they're like, these guys are freaking insane. But those same people believe that huge giant lizards roam the earth with no problem.
Right.
Okay? And they go, well, we have fossils. Well, you didn't have fossils until the early 1900s, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Literally, millions of years after these creatures
we didn't have shovels that long ago.
Yeah, millions of years ago, these creatures are on the planet, and we were just relatively, as far as human history is concerned, finding out about it. But they're so quick to go, giants didn't exist, you're full of shit. Okay, you can't do that, because the way, like I said, it's all about your open mind. If you don't have an open mind, you're not going to see this stuff. You're not going to look at the hard questions and dig a step further, dig a foot deeper, get in over your head every once in a while, explore things he's talking about and I'm talking about. But that's exactly what I wanted to kind of bring that to light, because people go, like, I can just hear people, I can hear them through the computer screen going, giants, yeah, giants have existed. And if you can look into it and you can understand what we're talking about with enough of an open mind, then either you'll see it or you'll go, no. But the point is you looked. The closed-minded ones are the ones of you out there who are going, wait a minute, hell no.
Well,
why didn't we ever find a giant?
Right, exactly. And that's a lot of my viewers are really open-minded already. I just want to throw that out there because
I'm sure you guys are.
But so I'm going to touch on the dinosaur thing, and then we're going to jump into question and answer session.
Cool.
Okay, so the dinosaur thing, the kingdom of the dinosaurs. Lizards don't have kingdoms, okay? They don't. People have kingdoms. Humanoids have kingdoms. So for me, it's all metaphorical. It's all allegory as to the reptilian giants, or I believe them not to be reptilian, but to be silica-based life forms that pre-existed us, that this was their kingdom. This was the age and the time of the scaled beings that ruled our world. Now, it's been cartoonified. It's been twisted into, the same thing, like, well, what are we familiar with that has scales and teeth and, like we turn it into what we're familiar with. Same thing as the ancient tribes who saw the gods come down and they said, wow, they have like
flaming
fish.
Chariot.
They have fish skin. Oh, there must be the fish gods, we'll worship them. And instead of the gods taking time out of their precious lives to say, no, it's not fish gods. We're not made out of what? No, like it's our RNA, it's our DNA, it's our molecular structure, and then they're like, and then the gods go, okay, we're fish gods. Just anyway,
Never mind.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, it's the same thing with dinosaurs. That's what we're familiar with, lizards. So we call those ancient beings the lizard beings, the dinosaurs, or the lizard princes, the lizard rulers of the world, which is what it translates into. That's pretty much, this is going to be the end. It's hot in here. Are you hot? I'm hot. So we're going to take questions and answers now. I want to thank everybody. Before we wrap things up, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon. I'm going to roll some credits at the end. If you haven't checked out my Patreon page, just check it out. You don't have to join or anything. I appreciate all of my viewers and all of you who have dedicated yourselves to having more of an open mind. And even more so when you actually take it a step further and you start looking into the things that other people have suggested. Would I recommend you look into every conspiracy that's ever come upon you? No. Find something that you may resonate with. Find something that you enjoy, that piques your interest. Then go down that road. You know what I mean? Open that door and see where it takes you. That being said, if you have a question, we're going to hang out for about 10 more minutes. Type in JayDreamerZ in the chat. Ask the question. We're going to get to as many as we can. Of course, super chat questions will take priority. But anybody that has a question, if you have it for my brother, type in JayDreamerZ at Adam. That way he can answer those questions. Otherwise, we'll just kind of answer whatever comes in. So let's see. Looks like Candy Jones has the first one here. JayDreamerZ question. Have you looked into black royalty of old? They whitewashed their own history and replaced themselves with white people. The black royalty of old are the true elites. I'm going to go ahead and take this question, bro, because this is something I've been actively researching for quite a long time. There are subjects that I am sort of handicapped when it comes to talking about them. Usually they're taboo, they're PC when it comes to sex, nationality, religion, race, stuff like that. But what I can tell you is, first of all, there is truth to that, just like there's truth to all things, okay? I talk about the ancient gods as, for the most part, being these silica-based life forms like we were just talking about, but when they're actually described as to their color, many of them are either a very, very dark bluish black in color. For example, Krishna, right? Krishna is one of the Hindu incarnations of Vishnu, okay? One of the creator, savior kind of gods. Today's world paints Krishna actually and physically paints him as being light blue. But if you read the Hindu texts, it never says that he's light blue. It says that he is blackish blue, that he's so dark that he's almost black with a tint of blue, kind of like Superman's hair in the comic books, So there is a reality behind that. All of my roads, as far as the fantastic and our origins, lead me to believe that we have our own, as far as race goes, our own individual creators, if you will. Those beings who came before. I don't believe, as is taught in the mainstream today, that there was, a man and a woman, and they were both white, and then everyone else just came from those two people. No, I believe so far, based on my path that I'm on now, in multiple creation theories having to do and originating with the quote-unquote gods of old. This is something I'm going to be doing a video about in the future. The black gods, or the Svartalfs. Svart means essentially black or dark, and Alf, ALF, means elf. It means the El, or the Elven race. Those of the El, or the ancient rulers, okay? So there is a lot behind that. I'm going to be going extensively into that particular topic. Once my website is released, I'll have the freedom to talk about it, basically. But because of racism and things like that, I don't talk about it as much. But I hope that helped to give you a little information on the subject. Now, I'm not going to scroll back up. I'm not going to go through all the questions. If I didn't get to your question, please retype your question, okay? All right. Do you want to pick the next one?
Sure, why not? Adam, what prevents you from believing in flat Earth? Well, it's not necessarily that, like I said, it's not that I don't believe, because I'm still investigating aspects of the flat Earth thing myself. When I say I'm not really a believer, it's because I haven't come to my final conclusion yet. I'm still doing research on the flat Earth. My main reasons are because it kind of conflicts with conspiracy theories, and once again I hate that word, but theories I have that are off skew from what would have to be a traditional way of thinking for the flat Earth people. So there are certain conflicts there that I'm still trying to wade through. Like I said, I make my decisions based on what I find out. And right now I'm still doing research into both of things about our space travel program and things like that, that for me kind of prevent the flat Earth theory. However, like I said, my brother's let me onto a lot of things, and so have other research items that I've looked up.
He's got good questions.
Have a lot of good things going on them. So like I said, I'm not quite a disbeliever in the flat Earth theory. It's more or less, I still haven't come to my own conclusion yet, and I'm still doing research on it.
Excellent. I think that's a great way to put that. Phoenix Tail 79 says, JayDreamerZ, with Flat Earth Realm, would it not be possible that foreign beings, aka aliens, are from beyond the Antarctic and from more advanced civilizations on other lands? Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And that's kind of what he was referring to with the construct that he's familiar with the reality that he's familiar with so far. It's hard to unite certain concepts and find a connector, okay? My connector is that we live on a plane of existence. Not perfectly flat. It's got mountains and valleys and stuff like that, but the plane of existence is multi-levels. It has planes. There are worlds above and there are worlds below, as we kind of hinted at earlier, but also peripheral worlds out to the sides. Basically, that there are, for example, in Nordic mythology, there is Jotunheim, which I talk about often. Jotunheim is the land of the giants, the garden of the giant beings. And they don't say they live here on Middle Earth. They don't say they live here, that they come from Australia or they come from, London or something. The giants come from the areas where it's very cold. That's Jotunheim, the land of the frost giants. Also, those beings are called frost giants because perhaps they are immune to certain weather conditions based on their chemical composition.
Also, read into Admiral Byrd's expedition, which has a lot of poignancy to the Arctic whole.
A lot of flat earthers do know a lot about, some about Admiral Byrd. But not just Admiral Byrd's southern polar expeditions. Check out his northern pole expeditions.
Oh, absolutely,
really interesting, where he was basically taken down into the inner earth and spoke with, what we would probably call the Palladians or something. Let's see. Next question. Candy Jones just totally said, read Worlds Beyond the Poles.
I actually have read that. That is a book I actually have read.
I've read like the first 50 pages. It kind of got like I felt like it got monotonous after 50 pages.
It does. That's one of the things. That's one of the things about this book. It does insist upon the point a lot. It becomes very, very mundane on its settings. Like I said, it's well written. There are a lot of parts of it that make sense to me. But like I said, I have things that I have researched as far as extraterrestrial conspiracies, things of this nature, that, like I said, I'm looking, my brother put it perfectly, I'm looking for that connector, okay? I have some information here, I have some information here. What I'm looking for is in here, okay? And like I said, everyone has to find that truth for themselves, because if you don't find it for yourself, then you're no better than the sheeple we've been talking about all night. You have to look into it and do what you can do, and I do agree, it was an interesting read, and it did help me get there more than I was, just like talking to my brother. Kind of connects some points of things I have questions about, because believe me, I'm not shy about questions, and if I don't see something happening or fitting right, I'll go, hey Jay, what the hell, this doesn't fit right, so explain this to me, and he will. Or like I said, I mean, it's not just him, it's whoever, but I have read that and I appreciate you bringing that up.
We're going to take about 3 more questions. We got to go, it's super hot in here. You want to pick the next one? Oh, do this one, that's a good one.
Oh, wait. Let's see. From the Flat Earth Flash. I missed
Hold
it.
on,
Hold
I'll
on.
get it back. Hold on.
We,
Are you losing your voice? I do this all the
little
time.
bit.
I start losing my voice towards the end.
what are some big truth shows, movies, or books?
There you go.
Oh, that's a whole question. Both of us, I'm sure, can input. I'll let you go. And
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. There are so many out there. Just some that come to my mind right away is The Matrix. I mean, The Matrix touches on and encourages people to question reality itself. So The Matrix is probably number one on my list. We also have Dark City. Dark City is an amazing movie, okay? It's got references to these pale white-skinned, ivory-skinned alien beings and whatnot, and how they're looking into mind control, manipulation of the thoughts of humanity, and how there are anomalies within the world who are immune to those types of mind control.
Another one, a good one, is called The Magicians, if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen that.
It goes
I
into,
need to look into that.
Alternate realms of thinking. Like they can literally walk through a bunch of bushes and there's a whole school that no one else can see except for these people who
Is that
are
on
touched
Netflix?
with the sight. Yes. Or
Okay.
it was at some point. The Magicians, another great show. Basically, the underlying point in it is perception is what you make of it. If you don't, just because you don't see something right away doesn't mean it's not there. It's not tangible. It's not something you can investigate in. Another great hidden truth one. It's got a lot of symbolism in like the things that it shows.
Yeah.
As far as like hidden meaning type stuff and
Right.
the backgrounds and stuff. Very good show.
1984 it's older, but it's a classic. Equilibrium is kind of a version of 1984. Who's that guy that played Batman most recently?
Oh my God, what's his name?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
He's-
Bale, something.
Christian Bale.
Christian
So
Bale.
Christian Bale stars in Equilibrium. That's sort of a dystopian future where we're given drugs in order to suppress our creative and imaginative sides, our emotions, so that we're stuck in that left brain mentality. Labyrinth is a great one. That's a classic. Sliders. Oh, it's really good. I love Sliders.
I love that
There's
show.
a lot to be learned. Doctor Who. Definitely watch Doctor Who. If you haven't seen Doctor Who, start with like the first episode and watch them all. Doctor Who's great. Doctor Who touches on everything we've been talking about and more. I think that's probably a good amount.
Good breaking point.
Let's get to the next question here. Oh, let me see if I can find a question. All right, 2 more questions. Let's do.
I'm not really.
This one's
familiar
for you.
with that one though. See, I'm
Was
not,
the Titan War? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm like, I know things about the
Let's
Titans,
do this
but I'm
one.
not sure what that one's suggesting. Let's see. JayDreamerZ or Adam, have you guys looked into the Hollow Earth theory? And if you guys do know, then what do you guys know about it? Oh, good Lord. That's another one I can literally talk for days on. Days and days and days and days. I know a lot about it. I know that there are several entrances here in the United States that go to Hollow Earth. Most of them a lot more accessible than you would believe. One's believed to be in the
Missouri?
One's believed to be in the Grand Canyon. One's in Missouri. There's one that's, if you
Nepal?
believe popular belief in the U.S., there's one that's in the Ozark Caves.
Yeah.
The Ozark
North
Caves
Pole.
have an entrance to them. And then if those of you don't know who the Ozark Caves or what the Ozark Caves are, in the Ozarks, which is a huge section of land in the U.S., it is one of the most cave-riddled areas of the U.S. And by the way, it's also being shut off and closed down to our government. They're actually sealing off entrances and barring other entrances closed to this thing, just like they have done to a lot of things, supposed entrances of Hollow Earth. There are areas of the Grand Canyon where there are these giant entrances into caverns that I know exist. There are photos of them, but that are now off limit to the public. And they cite reasons like danger, but they're barred from top to bottom. And I'm talking about a 30-foot high ceiling. And it's literally slotted off and barred off.
And also, just for you guys who don't know, I'm going to be eventually doing on-location travel videos to places like that. That's the first place I would like to go to. So I'm trying to save up some money in order to afford to go down to Arizona. I'm going to go to the Grand Canyon. I have my own theories on how the Grand Canyon was shaped and how it came about. It was not carved by a stream over millions of years.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm also going to be interviewing as many of the people who work there as possible to find out where these locations are, why they're shut down, and just to hear what others have been told, you know? So keep your eyes out for that. Grand Canyon, Meteor Crater, and the Petrified Forest in Arizona. What I'd like to do is to hit all 3 of those up, maybe on like a 3-day trip out there, and do some videos on location for you guys.
And I would love to come back anytime you guys, we're going to be wrapping it up here soon. Anytime you guys would like to hear more from us, just let Jason know, and maybe we'll do another interview here soon, a little podcast soon. Like I said, we both know a lot about different subjects that we haven't even scratched the surface of on here. I could talk with Jason. He knows. Me and him will go talk for hours. We're probably still going to be talking about this the entire rest of the night.
Yeah. So if you would like to see my brother on again, just let me know. Shoot some comments out to me or whatnot. And we'll see if we can do this again sometime. I think that's probably good. We should probably wrap things up now. Thank all of you. I thank you so much for your time hanging out with us today. You could have been doing other things. Many people have come to my channel and said, I am so glad that I stumbled upon this information. This is why I do this, right? Not to try to convince anyone of the way I see it. Not to try to tell you, you need my worldview. But to say, here's some information I've stumbled across on my path. I want to share it with you if you'd like to find out more about it. Check out my Patreon page. I'm going to run the credits. I want to thank everybody who has supported me on this wonderful journey of YouTube, and especially going into writing my book. My brother, I think, is also working on some books right now as well. Maybe if you come on again, we could talk about that. And my website. Okay, the website that I'm working on is going to be a collective place where you can gather and see all of the information for videos, pictures, and descriptions of many of the topics that I talk about. Probably all of my topics.
And I appreciate it, Little Bird. Thank you for the shout out.
What did Little Bird say? Oh, more of Adam. Okay, good. Little Bird lives in Australia. Okay, well, we're going to go now. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Feel free to hang out and check out the credits to see, who made this possible.
By the way, if you were wondering during the entrance opening who Inferno was, because you saw the word Inferno.
Oh, Inferno,
pop up,
right, yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, we'll tell you more about the whole Inferno story
another time
when he comes on again. I'll see you guys later. Have a great night, and goodbye.
JayDreamerZ. Think outside the box.